near Brant, Angola Brant Road, along Route 5 there. So a tornado warning does continue for this severe thunderstorm that continues to now shift to the northeast. And this warning is also in effect for the southwestern corner of Erie County and the northwestern corner of also Cattaraugus County. So we are continuing to closely watch this severe thunderstorm that continues to have now, once again, a tornado warning on it. And there's that red box you can see. So now the emphasis focusing on that extreme southwestern corner of Erie County, where we have a tornado warning continuing until 12:45 p.m. National Weather Service confirmed a possible touchdown in the Silver Creek area about 7 minutes ago as this storm continues to move off to the northeast. So this storm capable of producing a tornado. So seek shelter now, get into a safe, sturdy structure, interior floors, interior room, and the lowest level. Of course, a basement is the best option. So this is it. That's that severe thunderstorm. Damaging winds, we've already seen it producing damaging winds in excess of 60 miles per hour as it moved across portions of Chautauqua County, capable of producing a tornado, a possible confirmed tornado in Silver Creek. National Weather Service will go out and assess the damage. We're getting damage reports from that area, so they will go out once the storm clears and assess the damage to confirm if there was an actual tornado touchdown and the strength of the possible tornado. So that severe storm continues to move now into Erie County, that southwestern portion of Erie County. Damaging winds out of this, potentially a tornado. So this storm, now the most hazardous portion of it, moving right now, you can see along the 90 there at 249, along the 20 Angola State Park Road, right near Farnham. And I'm going to switch here radars so we get a live, real, like every minute update here where we could see the most impactful portion of the storm. So Brant right now getting the bulk of it along the 90 there at the 249. And this continues to move to the northeast, and we're getting an update right now on the tornado warning. I'm going to look at that. Tornado warning continuing until 12:45 p.m. for that southwestern corner of Erie County. There was at 12:33 p.m. a confirmed tornado from the National Weather Service over right near North Collins, or 11 miles southwest of Hamburg, moving northeast at 45 miles per hour. So this is a dangerous thunderstorm. So seek shelter right now if you're in the path of this severe thunderstorm that continues to have a tornado warning on it until 12:45 p.m. It may be extended as we're continuing to see this storm capable, if not producing, a tornado. So we're continuing to look at damage reports coming in, potentially tornadic wind damage from this severe thunderstorm. And so right now it is continuing to move Brant into North Collins along the 249, the 90, Pontiac, just near Lake Erie Beach, and the areas that could still be impacted by this as it continues to move to the northeast are also Evans. So if you're there, if you're in Eden, if you're in North Collins, seek shelter, get it into interior space, a sturdy building, possibly if you have a basement, that is key to put as many walls between you and this severe storm as possible. So there's a live update for you. Tornado warning continuing on this storm, this severe storm for that southwestern corner of Erie County. Looks like it's just continuing to move through North Collins right now, the potentially most hazardous portion of the storm. We are getting reports potentially of a confirmed tornado, and National Weather Service, once this clears, will assess the damage to see how strong this possible tornado is, looking at that tornadic wind damage. Conditions are favorable right now. We've been talking about this since yesterday, that we have wind shear in place, which is allowing some of these severe storms to have rotation within them and spin up tornadoes. So we are continuing to have a tornado watch for all of Western New York and also northern Pennsylvania until 9 p.m. this evening. There is a threat of a possible tornado continuing with any of these thunderstorms that do develop. And right now we do have the tornado warning continuing here. I want to zoom out and show you the box here because there's many communities potentially impacted by this severe storm that's moving through right now, beyond just the damaging winds, also that possible tornado. So I'm going to look here and see if we have any more confirmed reports right now from this active weather that we're seeing right now across portions of Erie County. But there's that box you can see highlighted in red. That is the tornado warning that continues until 12:45 p.m. for that southwestern corner of Erie County. So it looks like it has exited, this storm has exited Cattaraugus and Chautauqua counties. So the warning now, this tornado warning continuing just for portions of Erie County. And as you see here highlighted in the red, these are the communities expected to be impacted by this storm. So zooming in once again, I wanted to turn off the lightning detection so we can get a clear view here, and switching radars to more enhanced reflectivity. You can see right now the bulk of the most hazardous portion of this storm continuing to move over North Collins along the 62. Very heavy rain and potentially damaging winds out of this extending to Pontiac and Derby and Eden Valley. And this continues to move to the northeast at 45 miles per hour. So you can see that box there highlighting the track of this. I also want to put a tracker on this as well for you. And if you're in any of these communities, please seek safe shelter. Be on the safe side here, safety first, as we could be dealing with a possible tornado moving around the North Collins area and moving toward the northeast to affect heading toward Derby, Clarksburg, Eden, Clifton Heights, Clover Bank, Hamburg, and Armour, all under this tornado warning and could potentially be dealing with this severe thunderstorm. So again, reminders, we don't get tornadoes often around here, but on average, 1 to 2 per year. Usually they are weak, EF1s or EF2s, even EF0s, but safety tornado tips: get to a low level interior room, stay away from windows, cover your head, wear sturdy shoes, and do not stay in a car or a mobile home. And we're continuing to watch conditions this area for the potential of some of these stronger storms and capable of producing tornadoes. And we have that tornado watch continuing for all of Western New York and into northern Pennsylvania until 9 p.m. this evening.
What am I talking into?
Right now, we do have a live look here. Driving, if it looks like someone
got Dave
can
McKinley in the car.
Okay, yeah, I heard Dave McKinley talking, yes. But we continue to have that watch for all of Western New York and northern Pennsylvania till 9 p.m. this evening. Conditions are favorable for potentially seeing some of these severe storms capable of producing a tornado. And we have Rob Hackford here too with more on this now as well.
Yeah, Dave, can you describe for us what you guys have seen heading down the lakeshore there? It looks like you're in the lakeshore area, heading down through Evans, perhaps?
Yeah, actually, we're right in front of the Evans Town Hall. And just north of here, as we went through, we encountered some very, very heavy rain. You could see that there was a lot of smaller branches in the road, indicative that there was quite a bit of wind with this latest bout of heavy rain. Now, what you're looking at right now are sunny conditions that have just popped up as we understand that we were headed toward the Silver Creek area where we had reports of severe weather a short time ago. So we do see signs that there was a heavy rain and wind that passed through the area north of Evans a short time ago, and we're going to continue to head south from here.
Okay, thanks, Dave. That was Dave McKinley in Evans right now, heading down through the area that is included in this tornado warning right now in southern Erie County. Live look at Hamburg right now along the 90. We also did just get an alert from the city of Buffalo regarding the tornado watch that is in effect for our area. That's through 9 p.m. tonight, but the immediate concern here, this tornado warning through 12:45 this afternoon for southern Erie County heading into Hamburg. The advice for folks is to seek cover if you are in this cone, this area where this storm is heading through. As Jen had mentioned, there was a reported touchdown of a tornado in Silver Creek that will be further investigated by the National Weather Service. These reports take some time. They send people out to the scene to assess the damage and get a sense of whether this was an EF1, EF2, or EF0 tornado. Again, that was a confirmed touchdown from the National Weather Service that still has to be investigated. But for now, this tornado warning continues in southern Erie County through 12:45. So for the next 2 or so minutes, the safety tips for anybody in that area, Hamburg again, Eden Valley, Eden, passing through that area right now. It has gone through Evans at this point. If you're caught outside during the tornado warning, you're asked to seek shelter. You're unable to get indoors, stay away from trees and cars. We are going to show you another picture here. That was damage, an arc light that was sent into us by a viewer. Looks like some downed trees there, some bushes perhaps as well. You're supposed to stay away from trees or cars if the storm is heading in your area, through your area. Some more damage there from a backyard, it appears, with some pallets thrown about, some damaged trees. You're supposed to lie flat with your face down, low to the ground if you are outside in these areas. Be sure to protect the back of your head with your arms. If you're in a car during a tornado warning and in the area, try to get into a building or somewhere underground. This is Rancam over the lake right now. This portion of storms heading up the shoreline right now, included in that tornado warning area. Again, that's going to go through 12:45 here. There was one previously for northern Chautauqua and northwestern Cattaraugus counties. This is back over Hamburg now with the rain picking up as the storm moves into this area. Again, tornado warning for southern Erie County, including this area. If you are, again, near a car, if you're stuck in extreme wind or debris, you're asked to park away from other traffic. Stay in your car. Keep your seatbelt on as well. Try to put your head down below the windows. We are going to continue following these warnings and watches, which cover the entirety of western New York right now. The watch does. But Jen's going to have more on this warning as it continues to move northeast along the shoreline there, Jen. The rain really picking up in Hamburg there.
Right, and the heavy rain, damaging winds, but our focus here, that tornado warning that continues until 12:45 p.m. It was actually just extended until 1:15 p.m. Tornado warning for central Erie County. We're getting reports from the National Weather Service that a possible tornado reported over near Eden, near Hamburg, and it's moving northeast at 40 miles per hour. So this is a severe storm we are closely monitoring. It has been capable of producing this possible tornado. And we have a live look right now in Hamburg along the 90. I see cars driving. Seek safe shelter right away if you're in the path of this severe thunderstorm that has a tornado warning that continues to produce this possible tornado. Getting some possible ground reports, weather spotters confirming a tornado touchdown near Eden and Hamburg. So this was just 2 minutes ago. So please seek shelter. And there's a live update for you as this severe storm continues to track to the northeast. So communities impacted by this right now. And I want to switch radars once again so we get a close look. Eden, also Water Valley along the 62 and 75. You could be dealing with that potential tornado. So seek shelter. We're continuing to monitor this severe thunderstorm capable of continuing to produce that possible tornado. And we are getting some confirmed reports. This severe thunderstorm we've been tracking since Chautauqua County. We got a report of a possible tornado touchdown Silver Creek. And now again, this is a dangerous severe storm that has a history of producing this possible tornadoes. So heed the warning, get inside, seek shelter, interior room. We continue to watch this for this possible tornado. Take cover now. Move to a basement, interior room on the lowest floor of a sturdy building. Safety first. Avoid windows. If you're outdoors, in a mobile home or in a vehicle, move to the closest substantial shelter and protect yourself from this storm and flying debris. So the tornado warning, again, has been extended for Erie County, for central Erie County. You can see it's the south central portion right close to the lakeshore until 1:15 p.m. Tornado warning continuing for this portion of Erie County. National Weather Service reporting a possible tornado, even some confirmed touchdowns in the last 5 minutes over Eden and Hamburg, and this continues to move to the northeast at 40 miles per hour. So could be dealing with flying debris from this dangerous thunderstorm, producing damaging winds as well. So zooming in here, you can see continuing these areas being impacted by the severe storm Lakeview. Along the 90 there, Water Valley, Eden Valley, Hamburg, Eden, Clifton Heights, and this continues to move northeast. It's headed toward potentially Orchard Park and Blaisdell if this holds together and continues to have rotation with it. So get inside. You do not want to be caught outside in this storm that is capable of producing a tornado, and already getting some confirmed reports of potentially even some brief touchdowns with this, if not still on the ground. So I'm looking for additional storm reports here. We are getting some damage reports in from the track of this severe storm. Damage reports, trees down. And so heed the warning, get inside if you're in the path of this storm. I'm going to put a tracker on this once again. You can see a slightly wider shot here of that box. The tornado warning box here highlighted in red. So this continues to impact Erie County, and we're going to put this tracker. It looks like right now it continues to move northeast, so it's headed toward potentially West Seneca, Orchard Park, Springbrook, Elma. It looks like it's staying south of Buffalo. We're watching this closely as it's entering now central Erie County and is capable of producing a tornado, if not one on the ground. So I am going to continue to watch this storm. I wanted to show you real quick though, we are seeing some other thunderstorms popping right now, and any thunderstorms in this environment right now, we have decent wind shear enough to cause rotation with some of these thunderstorms and capable of producing tornadoes. So any of these thunderstorms that are developing and moving through, including one right now across portions of the southern tier, we are watching very closely for that spin up as conditions are favorable for a possible tornado for our area. As you can see highlighted in yellow, a tornado watch for all of Western New York and northern Pennsylvania goes until 9 p.m. So we're going to be continuing to monitor conditions closely. And right now, as we show you here, we have a severe thunderstorm warning for areas across Cattaraugus and Allegheny counties. We are watching this storm for possible rotation as well. Right now, out of this, we're getting damaging winds, 60 miles per hour. This storm is moving through Cuba and Hinesdale and is headed toward Friendship along the 86. And I am going to bring up that severe thunderstorm warning that continues until 1:45 p.m. for these portions of Cattaraugus and Allegheny counties. Any of these thunderstorms are capable of having some rotation and potentially a tornado warning issued on them. So we're going to watch this one. I'm going to put a tracker on this one, and then we will go back and check on that severe storm through Erie County that continues to have a tornado warning on it. But I wanted to remember that we have other thunderstorms that could intensify. Severe thunderstorm warning right now, continuing for this severe storm through Cuba, damaging winds along the 86 there. So many of us do have a chance of seeing these severe storms with possible rotation. So I wanted to come back up here, the tornado warning continuing for portions of Erie County here, that central portion, through Hamburg. We're continuing to see that severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado continuing to move to the northeast, so impacting communities. There's that live update. Athol Springs and Blaisdell along the 90 there and the 20. So we have Rob Hackford here to talk more about tornado safety tips.
Yeah, Jenna, it looked like East Aurora had been added to that warning as well. You mentioned Eden and Hamburg, Orchard Park as well, included in this central Erie County tornado warning there now. To the right of your screen there is the 90 in Hamburg. It was just pouring rain a few minutes ago. This warning again extended until 1:15, a tornado warning where there have been some confirmed reports of tornadoes touching down in southern Erie County through our area that will require further investigation by the National Weather Service. If you have photos, images, any damage in your backyard, send them our way. The National Weather Service is also appreciative of getting those photos to inform their decision-making process and determining whether this was an EF0, EF1, EF2, or if it was a tornado at all, although we have seen some of those confirmed reports. Safety, again, the key here for anybody in this area, central Erie County and southeastern Erie County, so through Hamburg, East Aurora, Eden, Orchard Park, heading up to Blaisdell as well, Cheektowaga, Waseneca. If you're in a car during a tornado warning, try to get into a building or somewhere underground. If you get stuck in extreme wind or debris, park away from other traffic, stay in the car, and keep your seatbelts on. This is video from Blaisdell now, a live camera for you now, with, again, cars on the road still, advised here to pull over, seek shelter or cover for the time being as this storm continues to move through the area. We have, again, heard reports of tornadoes touching down in North Collins, Silver Creek, Hamburg, Eden. Blaisdell is next on the list, perhaps, if this storm continues to keep its strength and continues to move into central Erie County, where this tornado warning has been extended through. If you're, again, in the car, make sure you duck below the windows, you cover your head with your hands, a jacket or a blanket, perhaps. If you're at home, as Jen has mentioned a couple times now, head to your basement. If you don't have one, stay in the smallest room at the center of your house. This is, again, some damage that we have been sent from ArcLight. Some trees toppled over there, some bushes as well, and some damage to what appears to be a back shed or a patio or a home there. As this storm continues to move through the area, if you are in a home, stay in the smallest room. If you don't have a basement, that is the best place to be. But if you don't have a basement, stay in the smallest room, the center of your house. You should stay away from all windows and keep yourself covered up. Again, this tornado warning extended through 1:15 p.m. this afternoon. If you're in an apartment building, go to the lowest floor that you can. We see a car pulled over here in Blaisdell, heeding the advice that the National Weather Service has put out and that we have been informed of for many years and is the best advice for you. You want to go to the lowest floor that you can or seek shelter. If you aren't, again, on the road, it's best to pull over. If this storm continues and there is a tornado touchdown confirmed in Blaisdell, as we have seen in North Collins and Silver Creek, as it continues to make its way northeast up the Lake Erie shoreline. And Jen, the extension of this through 1:15 p.m., an indication that this storm hasn't lost enough steam yet for them to lower down to a watch, correct?
Right. It has not been allowed to expire or been allowed to or have been canceled. The thing is with the conditions and what we see sometimes locally, thinking back to some of our tornado outbreaks that we've had in the past, sometimes we get one of these severe thunderstorms that continues to produce a tornado. So it will weaken and we'll lose that rotation, and then it will spin up another tornado as it continues to move through our area. So that's kind of what we're seeing with this one right now, based on storm reports so far. As it's been traveling across Chautauqua County, we saw a possible tornado touchdown Silver Creek, and then as it continued to move to the northeast, getting that potential report through North Collins and Eden. So we will continue to watch this. National Weather Service will, of course, assess damage to see if this has been a tornado that's been on the ground or if it's been more sporadic and losing its rotation and then coming back, strengthening, being able to touch down again. So this is what we are watching with this severe thunderstorm. Even if this tornado warning is expired, it is allowed to expire at 1:15 p.m., there is still a severe thunderstorm warning on it as it continues to move across Erie County for the potential, too, of having another tornado spinning up and touching down. So the threat is far from over, even with this severe thunderstorm that continues to have a tornado warning on it. And we continue to have the threat through this early evening till 9 p.m. for our area as conditions are favorable for potentially seeing some of these isolated thunderstorms producing tornadoes. So right now we have that tornado warning continuing till 1:15 p.m. As you can see here for portions of Erie County, that box, as you see highlighted there, will be updated. Notice the track of the severe storm is a little bit more on the northern end of that tornado warning box. So this is what we're watching right now. The radar reflectivity showing this is where the strongest of this severe storm is, right through Blaisdell. And Kelsey, our EP, is telling us we have the 90 and the 219, a live shot here for you. You can see the very heavy rain there right now. And it looks like, as we zoom in a little more on radar, as you can see too, Big Tree getting the probably most hazardous portion potentially of this storm. Winsome, and also the 179 along the 219 there. Webster Corners all have a chance of dealing with the most hazardous portion of this storm. I'm looking for any more updates here of ground reports from the Weather Service. And we continue to have this tornado warning until 1:15 p.m. for East Central, or at least Central Erie County. A confirmed tornado located 3 minutes ago near North Boston and moving to the northeast at 40 miles per hour, potentially damaging tornado. So this is a dangerous storm that we've been continuing to monitor since it's been moving through Chautauqua County and now moving through Central Erie County. If you are in the path, safety first, seek shelter, get into a interior building, lowest floor, sturdy building, avoid windows. If you're outdoors, get inside if you're in the path of this storm. And this continues to move northeast, 40 miles per hour. And you can see right now it's affecting Big Tree, Blaisdell, the 179 along the 62 there, the 90, and it's continuing to move northeast. So communities expected to also be impacted by this severe storm capable of producing a tornado continue to extend through to the northeast of there. So I'll zoom in here, Ebenezer, East Seneca, Gardenville potentially, along the 277, the 240 and the 90 near West Seneca. So this is something we're continuing to monitor closely. And you can see this tornado watch continues for all of Western New York and Northern Pennsylvania. So we're continuing to track these severe storms capable of producing tornadoes. This particular one that we're watching over Central Erie County has a history of producing a tornado based on confirmed reports by weather spotters from the National Weather Service.
And Jen, I just want to jump in here. Kevin Sylvester, who's in our studio right now for Western New York Living, mentioning too, for people not understanding where the storm is right now, it's right over Highmark Stadium, right kind of the intersection with Hamburg, Orchard Park, and moving into Central Erie County right now, where that tornado warning has been extended to 1:15. That's we're going to be on the air with you until then, heading into East Seneca now, Springbrook, as you can see there, with confirmed reports. And the most recent one Jen mentioned there was in North Boston, so just south of Orchard Park, in Central Erie County, heading up there. There's Highmark Stadium for you there, where the storm would have just passed over. The field house as well, as we continue to track this storm and any potential damage. If you have damage, send it in. Keep us informed of what's going on in your neighborhood, but do so safely after the fact, not when the storm is happening. Your safety is of the utmost importance. Seeking cover if you are in your home, either in your basement, pulling over if you are on the road while in your car, and taking a second just to let the storm pass through. Know that you aren't in danger or anything like that. But again, we have had several reports of tornadoes touching down with this cluster of storms, all the way from northern Chautauqua County up through southern Erie and now into central Erie County with North Boston, south central in that case. So lots to keep track of here as we continue to keep you updated through 1:15 p.m. That's when this tornado warning is set to expire. The previous one was extended just a few minutes after it had expired. That could very well be the case with the National Weather Service making those determinations. The track right now, Jen, heading towards Cheektowaga, it looks like. If you have some updated info on that right now for the folks who would next potentially experience these damaging winds, the severe rain as well.
Yes, it continues to move now. You can see just southeast of Buffalo. So it's continued to impact communities there right across central Erie County. And we have the storm reports coming in of wind damage, as you were showing too, Rob, in some of the video from some of these communities. And some of this straight line wind damage potentially, but also tornadic wind damage. So Weather Service folks will be heading out to assess that damage once the severe weather threat clears. But one coming in from Forestville, spotters reporting trees down and a barn roof blown off near Straight Road and Zame Road. So this is the kind of weather we're seeing in terms of from these severe storms moving through, where we could be dealing with the damaging winds. And we're seeing that right now for many spots as this severe storm that we continue to track across central Erie County continues to move to the northeast at 40 miles per hour. So these are the communities that are being impacted right now. And there's a photo right now from Sinclairville. And you can see that the severe storm when it moved through there, and you can see even that kind of, it looks like a wall cloud that you see from these supercell thunderstorms capable of producing tornadoes and that rotation. So I'm sure we'll get more reports of folks seeing that wall cloud there rotating, and that's where we get the tornado from. So this lines up with some of the active weather reports we've been getting, and also with the warnings. So we've been received enough damage reports now in that Weather Service folks will be going out to assess the damage once the severe weather threat clears to see if the strength, the possible tornado touchdown, and then the strength of the possible tornado. So unofficial reports of tornado damage as of now from what we're seeing coming in right now. But we continue this tornado warning for portions of Erie County. As you can see right now, it goes until 1:15 p.m. And then there is a severe thunderstorm warning on it, extending for a longer period of time is what is expected. And we'll see if this tornado warning is also potentially extended as well. So this is where we're seeing the bulk of it. It is missing downtown Buffalo. This severe storm, the northern extent of it is moving through West Seneca and that western extent. It's moving right now the most hazardous portion of the storm, Ebenezer, into East Seneca, Blossom, and also, as you can see, the southern extent of it as well. There's a live shot for you, Springbrook as well, and it's heading into Elma. So I wanted to zoom out here for you because, and these are some decent DBZ values, levels of reflectivity that we're seeing indicating by the peak, the pink color indicating some possible strengthening with this thunderstorm. So we are most likely going to have an extension on this, at least in the form of a severe thunderstorm warning on this as it continues to move to the northeast through Lancaster right now. in Erie County. And we are seeing another severe thunderstorm warning for a portion of northern Erie County right now, and also for Niagara County, and still tracking some storms south for Allegheny County. This watch continues, tornado watch for all of Western New York and northern Pennsylvania till 9 p.m. So we are closely monitoring any of these severe storms that are moving through, capable of producing not only damaging winds, but also a spin up, a possible tornado.
Jen, you mentioned something there, DBZ value. Can you go into depth of, you mentioned it has something to do with strengthening, or a value that allows you to better assess what this storm is doing at the moment.
Yeah, so the higher DBZ value, you're getting more reflectivity from what we call the hydrometer. So like a raindrop, or in the case of hail, you get a lot of reflectivity from that. So it usually shows the strengthening of a storm and just how severe a storm can be and what it has in it. So right now you can see we have those higher DBZ values indicated by the pinks here as we zoom in. Near Elma, just north of there, and also 354 heading into Lancaster, and we continue to have this tornado warning on this severe storm that's moving through there right now. Communities, Elma, Lancaster, along the 354 there as we zoom in. This is moving to the northeast at 40 miles per hour, so I want to put a tracker on this so you can see where communities are still expected to be impacted by this storm. So continuing to move northeast, Delwood, Town Line, Mill Grove, and I'm going to continue to, I'm going to clear this because I wanted to actually make this a little wider, because the cone that we usually put on it, you have to give a little give to the west and also the east for that movement, like we're seeing sometimes that gradual shifting to the north, as we're seeing with this storm right now. So Town Line, Delwood, Mill Grove, Crittenden, South Newstead, these are all communities that could be impacted by this thunderstorm. I wanted to also note a severe thunderstorm warning now issued for northeastern Erie County, southwestern Niagara County until 2 p.m. So we're still seeing these storms popping up across our area, damaging wind gusts, the main threat with the severe storms, but also, as we're seeing too, potentially some rotation and a possible tornado out of these. And we're getting some of those reports already coming in as we've been tracking this particular cell since it's moved across Chautauqua County and into Erie County.
And Jen, we've seen some reports of power outages or people commenting that they've lost power in Blaisdell area, perhaps Hamburg as well. If you do have those outages, those reports are always crucial to keeping other neighbors informed, perhaps, or folks who may be at work and not at home at the moment, of what they might expect when they get home. So we'll continue to cover that, of course, as this storm moves through our area. Others may be impacted. You mentioned 45 miles an hour is kind of the tick that this is going. So moving fairly quick. Is that fast or
yes,
slow? And
it's usual for severe storms to be moving about that rate. And so it is moving pretty quickly. And we are going to see that trend with a lot of these thunderstorms that are developing, that northeastward movement at about 40 to 45 miles per hour. And this, we are closely watching this, Rob, because right now we have that tornado warning going for another 5 minutes for the severe storm across central Erie County. We've seen National Weather Service reports of confirmed touchdowns through several places. I know you've been getting some reports in too.
Yeah, I think recapping, Silver Creek, North Collins, Eden, Hamburg were the most recent ones that you had mentioned that we had also received reports through. Plenty of video out there on social media as well, photos that we've been sent as well showing some of this damage, which will help inform the National Weather Service in deciding what strength tornado this was, or if it was one at all. As these are confirmed reports, there is some evidence that has led the National Weather Service to make that determination that these are suspected tornadoes, or a suspected tornado. A view here over the Lake Erie shoreline, some of those large storm clouds making their way. Again, this is just gone southeast of the city of Buffalo, just missed or just went to the southeast of Cheektowaga, heading towards Lancaster, in Lancaster right now, heading out east towards Elma as well. We continue to keep you updated. We have a team on the road as well that was in Evans reporting some heavy rainfall down there. Much of that, the same story as we've been heading into central Erie County and into almost approaching northern Erie County at this point as we head into Lancaster. But again, continue to follow these storm reports. If you have any storm reports, send those videos, photos in us when it is safe. Do so. If you're in a car, you're advised to pull over or duck your head below the window. If you are in a home in these areas like Lancaster, seek shelter. The best place to be is your basement. If you don't have a basement, you want to lie face down on the ground or seek out a small room it's central to your home. These tips, of course, also available on our website, WGRZ.com. But the immediate concern here is to keep folks updated on this tornado warning as it continues to make its way through our area. The remnants of Beryl that we were expecting today, causing some severe impacts for all of us, Jen, and lots to keep track of throughout the day. So what's the latest update here? 1:15 is the expected expiration of this tornado warning, correct?
Right, and it looks like it was extended.
Okay.
Tornado warning has been extended.
So our second extension.
Yes, it continues until 1:45 p.m. now, and it includes several counties as well as we've been continuing to track it to the north. It's heading to the northeast, so now it's expected to move into portions of Genesee and Wyoming counties. This severe storm is holding together. It's still capable of producing a tornado. We now have that tornado warning continuing. It's been extended until 1:45 p.m. for northwestern Wyoming County, east central Erie County, southwestern Genesee County. And there is still National Weather Service reporting from weather spotters reporting a tornado on the ground located over Billington Heights just 3 minutes ago, or over East Aurora moving northeast at 40 miles per hour.
Yeah, kind of the Elma, East Aurora area there.
Right, so that's in the southern extent of this system, but we saw some of that, the hooking in there at one point. So that's where the most hazardous portion of the storm is. We still have some heavy rain and gusty winds on the northern part of it too, but that southern edge, that's where we normally see that potential tornado developing. So again, we are looking at locations being impacted by this: Darien Lakes State Park, Marilla, Pembroke, Bennington, Alden, Attica, Wales Center. And so this is something that we need folks to take cover now if you're in the path of this storm. It's a possible tornado once again being produced by this storm, if not one continuing to touch down. So if you're outdoors, seek shelter, indoors immediately. And you can see right now as we take a shot here that a wider look, we have that tornado warning. The box has been updated to show where we're seeing this tornado warning. So
in a whole new area, then we haven't had this before. So folks in Wyoming County, in Genesee, as you mentioned, Jen, and then the eastward extents of Erie County want to know this information. Be advised, as Jen has said a couple times, and as we have said, safety first. Here, if you are at home, head to a basement, seek cover, or a small room in the center of your home. If you're on the road, pull over, duck below the windows. If you're in these areas heading into Wyoming County and southern Genesee as well, added to this tornado warning as this storm has not weakened to the extent where these warnings would be expired. This is the second extension that we've seen since earlier this afternoon, just before noon, now going to 1:45 for parts of Wyoming, Erie, and Genesee counties for this tornado warning. And Jen, the indications that this storm has not weakened enough to the point where these warnings would go away. You mentioned the reflectivity of this storm, showing that it was strengthening even. That report of a most recent report of a tornado to the National Weather Service in Billington Heights area. It's Elma, Orchard Park, East Aurora area, kind of in that cluster, would indicate that this isn't slowing down, that warning as well. So if folks are looking to see where this is headed, what is the best track that you have right now for anybody in that area? If you have a time estimate perhaps, or the most recent track for into Wyoming and southern Genesee?
Yes, it is holding together. And the thing is, too, it's continuing to move into an air mass that's favorable, that has wind shear, that is keeping that rotation going, that instability, it's keeping it going. So it's south and southeast of Buffalo and into Genesee, Wyoming County is where we have heightened instability. And we continue to have that into through the afternoon, into the early evening hours. So any of these storms that move through will be coming into that favorable environment and potentially having some rotation with them, potentially producing a tornado. And so that's what we've already been singing over the last hour. And there's that continuing that severe storm, Rob, and there's that updated tornado box, the red box highlighting the direction of it, continuing to move to the northeast at 40 miles per hour. It's almost exiting Erie County, and then we'll be entering into portions of Wyoming and Genesee County. So that's why the tornado warning was extended till 1:45 p.m. to include northwestern Wyoming County and also for southwestern Genesee County. So we still have that warning in portions of Erie County as well. And zooming in, at least though it has cleared some of central Erie County, now the southern extent is through Marilla and up into Alden, Town Line, potentially the most impactful portion of this severe storm in those areas right now. Marilla through the 358, the 354, into Alden and Williston. And we're also seeing it extending some very heavy rain, gusty winds up through Chittenden and Mill Grove and also into Fargo. But these are the communities that could be impacted by this tornado. Corfu is in the path. And I wanted to put a tracker on this so you could see this. The progression and movement of this severe storm capable of producing a tornado. And we are getting some reports of a confirmed tornado out of this. So Crittenden, Corfu, Pembroke, Indian Falls, Cookeville, North Alexander, Oakfield, all under the warning, this potential of seeing this storm moving through. So seek shelter as we continue to watch this severe storm capable of producing a tornado. And Rob, I understand you have more on this now with some video.
Yeah, we have some video that was sent in to us by a viewer from Eden, so showing the strong winds there. From Cheryl, thank you for passing this along to us to give us a sense of what's going on in your neighborhood and what you're experiencing. Tough to see a bit through the mesh there, but we have had a reported touchdown of a tornado in that area. Again, North Collins as well, Silver Creek. This moving now eastward, northeastward into Wyoming and southern Genesee counties. The wind and damage that we've also seen some toppled trees, some ripped out bushes from the ground as well, and plenty of heavy rainfall with this. As Jen mentioned, it's moving northeast into an area that is favorable to the strengthening of this storm. The National Weather Service extending the warning that would have expired at 1:15 to 1:45 this afternoon. We have a power outage map now from NYSEG with 26,000 people reporting an outage. We got one from Blaisdell. It appears to be right in that exact same area. We'll have to check with National Grid to see what power outages are in that area for anyone that might be at work. You'll potentially expect some outages at your home. Of course, head home as is safe if you're not in the path of the storm. 26,000 there, again, reported by NYSEG in southern Erie County. Power outage right in the Blaisdell area, it appears. West Seneca, more damage as well that was sent in to us from ArcLight. Looks like someone there on a tractor, some toppled trees along the side of the road there, as well as some pretty soaked road there from the rainfall. Looks like a barn, wow, with a portion of its roof ripped off. You hear it there, the wall ripped off as well from the strong winds that came through there with reports to the National Weather Service of a tornado touching down in that area. by weather watchers. If you are seeing things like this or you have video, the National Weather Service takes in all of that information to then determine what strength tornado this was, EF1, EF2, EF0. Those are the most common ones, as Jen has mentioned, that we see in our area, 1 or 2 a year. This, again, the remnants of Hurricane Beryl making its way through western New York, strengthening to the point where we have had these tornadoes reported. Heading now, the southern extent, still around the Marilla, Alden area of this storm as we head into Wyoming and southern Genesee counties, almost out of Erie County at this point. But plenty of video as well showing what appears to be a wall cloud or a funnel of some sort over land as well as over the water as it's been making its way up the Lake Erie shoreline through northeast and central Erie County. We're going to be tossing out to Dan Russell, who just got into the studio here, as we bring in some teamwork here at Channel 2 as we make sure to keep you all updated on what's going on during this tornado warning. Plenty of damage reports as we've seen. This extended again until 1:45 for anyone in this path through, as you see on your screen there, parts of Wyoming, Erie, Genesee County, the southern extent of that storm, which has strengthened, as Jen mentioned, since we last had this warning up, through Marilla and Alden, the southern extent of that, heading into, as you see there, Cowsville, Darien as well, next in the path. We want to keep you updated throughout the day, especially with the safety concerns of this storm. If you are in your home right now and in these areas and you have us on the air, heading to a basement is the best safety thing you can do. If you don't have a basement, stay in the smallest room at the center of your house. You should stay away from all windows and keep yourself covered up. If you are in an apartment building, you want to go to the lowest floor that you can, or seek shelter inside or an interior stairway. And Jen, still moving here, the latest track through 145. You see Dan there in the studio joining us to bring
Getting the
up
team together, yes.
How we looking?
Right. So what's interesting is I was just looking back at the last hour of movement, and you can see a little bit of an inflow notch, as we call it, where you get some of that air flowing into that severe storm and showing some of that rotation potentially. And right now we're seeing that 219 just through Alden, just northeast of Marilla. And so that's something we're watching closely for, that still possible tornado. We have that tornado warning continuing for that area of Erie County and extending into also Genesee and Wyoming County. So this is the most hazardous portion of the storm, is that possible tornado. And so that's where we're watching some of these areas right now. And I wanted to zoom in here and live update here on this radar showing that movement to the northeast. So Alden into Corfu, just north of Darien, Crittenden, getting some of the most impactful portion of this thunderstorm. So this is something we're continuing to watch closely. There is an actual update right now on the tornado warning as well, here coming in, continuing until 1:45 p.m. So another 20 minutes for northwestern Wyoming, east central Erie, and southwestern Genesee counties. We have Dan Russell here now. Hey, Dan.
Yeah, Jen. Well, you know, we've been tracking this. I actually followed this storm on my way in. The structure of it, something we do not see all too often here in western New York. And again, we've already had numerous reports of an official tornado on the ground. Of course, we still have that tornado warning in place, and you can kind of see that classic, this is that hook echo that you'll hear meteorologists, especially out in the Midwest, Tornado Alley. They'll talk about this hook echo, and there it is right here. And this is that influx notch right in and around Alden. And this is the cell that has prompted that tornado warning. And again, something we'll continue to track. The other thing we're also tracking, it's not just the tornado warning, but you got to go back to even this morning where Niagara Falls had over 1.25 inches of rain. So they started out the day with some tropical downpours, and now we have more tropical downpours making their way through Niagara Falls. A lot of embedded thunder and lightning within this. So it's not just this tornado warning, but we have active weather across many portions here of western New York. But again, this has been the main player. You can see right there in and around Alden, just crossed 239 there, getting ready to cross Route 20, again, pushing into areas of Genesee County. So especially if you're in and around Darien, stretching over towards Batavia. These are some of the areas where, again, you want to take shelter, get inside, find that interior room, and you can kind of see as we do put that tracker on there, whether it's Darien that I was just mentioning here within the next just couple of minutes, Batavia, 151. The one good thing about a lot of this active weather, and we were even talking about it yesterday, it is moving fairly quickly. So as we go through the next couple of hours, again, take shelter, let these storms pretty much pass overhead, and then you'll be able to get back outside because, again, these storms are on the move. And you can kind of see there's a new severe thunderstorm warning over towards Rochester and areas of the Genesee Valley. Again, we have these thunderstorms, especially across portions of Wyoming County. We also can't forget about a severe thunderstorm warning in place for portions of Allegheny County. That's the kind of atmosphere we have. And as we look just south, it looks like we may even have a new tornado warning. So, Jen, maybe we can try to get the radar for that. Maybe portions of Potter County, I think.
Right. I was just watching that one.
We might be dealing with some even active weather down there.
I was just watching that one, too. Wanted to give a quick update, though, for the current tornado warning right now that will continue for Alden. We are getting from the National Weather Service a report of a confirmed tornado just 4 minutes ago located over Alden or near Darien Lakes State Park. So, Dan, that's where we're seeing that inflow notch right around there. So that's where we're seeing some of that rotation continuing to move to the northeast at 40 miles per hour. So that's something we're continuing to monitor. I mean, impacting communities as it continues to move to the northeast, such as Chittenden and also Corfu, Fargo, could be very soon in the path of this tornado we're seeing on the ground.
Yeah, you know, the atmosphere is just so conducive. There's a lot of what we call vorticity in the atmosphere, and that's what's creating this lift and this spin in the atmosphere, the tropical nature of this system. And again, here we are zoomed right in. And it's this feature right here. This is where we have winds getting pulled into the storm. We have some winds on the backside of it, and that's what gives us that spin right there, that mesocyclone. And that's where we have the atmosphere spinning counterclockwise above the ground. And sometimes, though, that mesocyclone does drop and make its way down to the ground, and that's what we've had in this case. And that's why it's not just a radar-confirmed tornado, but again, we've had reports of tornado damage on the ground with this particular storm as it continues to race off to the north and east. Again, very heavy rain across portions of Niagara County. Lockport, you're getting slammed with those tropical downpours. Niagara Falls, you're probably going to end up with at least 2.5, if not over 3 inches of rain when today is all said and done. A lot of embedded thunder also with this activity. But again, this is the main player. This is the tornado warn cell that we've been tracking here over the last couple of hours. Jen's been doing a great job giving you the latest as this storm did develop in and around portions of Chautauqua County, really riding right up the 90. Now it is moving inland. There's the update, and you can see whether it's Corfu stretching out towards Route 20. That's where the harshest of the weather is. And again, this is going to be moving right over Batavia here over the next 20 to 25 minutes. So something to keep in mind as this storm is racing off to the north and east, and eventually we'll get rid of it as we get further into this afternoon. And again, you kind of see how that broken line, the cells, these supercells, if you will, that are really trying to pop and will continue to expand eastward as we go through the next half hour to hour. Severe thunderstorm warning also in place for portions of Cattaraugus, Allegheny counties, and also down into Potter County. We also have a tornado warning there as well. And as I expand out, you can kind of see that particular cell right there. The good news, there are a couple of isolated showers behind this activity, but a lot of this is going to be racing to the east as we get further into this afternoon. So yes, we are dealing with some extremely active weather right now, including that tornado warn cell now moving through Genesee County. And we're going to go ahead and put that tracker on there for you because, again, Batavia, you are going to be under the gun here for the next 15 to 20 minutes. And this is going to be really the kind of storm that's going to provide those visuals that you see. So again, guys, Jen, this is the kind of storm where I think people, your best bet, take cover. And again, let this storm just kind of pass overhead and do its thing as you can do so safely.
Yeah, and Dan, we are getting some video in from Forestville, some drone video showing some of this damage. Take a look there. You can see the top of that barn appears to be ripped off, a couple downed trees as well from these strong winds. The storm moving through that area about an hour and a half ago, if my memory serves me correctly there. About an hour and a half ago.
Oh yeah, you can definitely see those trees are down. The key is once we get on the ground is looking at the nature of that debris and that damage. Is it all going in one direction? As I kind of try to take a closer look, a lot of times you can see trees leaning one way or they had fallen one way, and then about a 50 yards, 100 yards away, you'll see trees or laying down the other direction.
Okay.
And that's where you get that spinning wind instead of those straight line winds, and that's an easy way to determine the damage. But yeah, you can certainly see there, Rob. We definitely have some damage there, in and around that farm there, in and around Forestville.
Yeah, and we've had crews on the road that are heading in that direction earlier. They mentioned seeing heavy rain, the wind that you probably drove right past them coming up the 90. But lots to keep track of today. We've seen some pretty good photos as well, none that we've been able to show on the air, but on social media. I've seen folks posting what appear to be structured, a funnel cloud of some sort.
I saw a few of those photos as well, and you can see, again, it's not giving you that truly picturesque, that funnel that you see in the movies and what you see out west. It's almost like a dirty funnel, if you will.
One, yeah.
But you can certainly see that spin in the atmosphere. And again, we still have this tornado warning in place as this cell continues to move across Genesee County. But boy, look at some of the video already of some of that damage. So this is certainly a storm that must be taken seriously as it does move overhead.
Yeah, and in terms of how the National Weather Service uses this stuff, they're getting these reports. We've seen it all the way up this path of the storm from North Collins, Silver Creek, up through Eden, Hamburg, and the most recent one. They use this to determine the strength of the storm, correct? EF1, EF2, EF0.
That is correct.
As we come days and weeks past this, that's going to be crucial for them and insightful for the folks in those areas to know.
Yeah, absolutely. So they'll end up sending a team more than likely, especially with damage that we're seeing here. And they're going to look at the damage. One, they'll confirm if it was a tornado, just as I was mentioning. But they can also, there's a scale that where they can actually measure the wind speed by the kind of damage that is present, whether or not the size of the trees that have been knocked over, were the leaves stripped off the branches. Of course, higher winds, you'll see trees that are completely stripped. So again, that's something that we'll be determining, obviously, as we do go through time.
So this warning now continued through 145. Another track, you mentioned Batavia, kind of next in the sights of this as it continues to move through Genesee County. Any indications at this point, or I don't know if Jen can describe this, or Dan yourself, where we are headed? It was strengthening just a bit ago.
Yeah, well, the storm continues to track to the north and east. At the very least, it does seem to be holding a lot of its nature, if you will, its structure. So I would imagine that we do still have at least what I was mentioning, a mesocyclone. Mesocyclone means we do have that spin in the atmosphere. We can actually measure that with radar. And then the question is, does that spin make its way down to the surface? And obviously, this storm has had a history of doing that. A lot of times, you'll get these kind of storms as they track north and east. It doesn't mean the tornado's on the ground the entire time. It does what we call skips. So it makes its way down to the surface, but we still have that spin in the atmosphere, and then it kind of drops again, lifts, drops again, and lifts. And what you'll end up getting, Rob, is you'll get a lot of these areas where you get the damage, and then you don't see a whole lot, and then you'll see some damage, and then you won't see a whole lot. And I think that's actually what's happening with this particular cell. And again, it continues to make its way here across portions of Genesee County. And as I continue to show the radar, again, this particular cell, it started portions of Chautauqua County a couple of hours ago. It has been racing to the north and east. And again, there it is heading towards Batavia. And it would be in this particular area of the cell where we do have that spin in the atmosphere where potentially that tornado could be dropping down to the surface. Again, very heavy rain here across portions of Niagara County. And as we continue to zoom in, again, still have that tornado warning in place heading into the general area of Batavia, over the next 15 to 20 minutes. So, Jen, I know you've been tracking this storm here all morning long.
Yes.
And doing a great job. And now we're still seeing some more warnings beginning to pop up.
Oh, yeah, that one in Potter County. And that's the one I wanted to take you to right now. We're continuing to track that severe storm. Tornado warning continues for portions of Potter County, as you can see here, till 1:45 p.m. for the northwestern corner of Potter County. And that severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado, radar indicating some rotation. We haven't seen any observations about any tornado on the ground from this one severe storm in Potter County, but we're seeing some radar indicated rotation with this. It continues to move to the northeast, 40 miles per hour, located near Shingle House, and it'll continue its track into Allegheny County. So that's something we're going to be watching closely. But I wanted to show you this. We'll put a tracker on it and clear the precipitation route there. Rate. As we zoom in, it's already starting to move right on the border now of Potter and Allegheny County as it continues to move to the northeast. So just a wider perspective here so you can see here, southern Allegheny County. We are going to be watching. The severe thunderstorm warning does continue for that severe storm as it moves into Allegheny County, but we'll have to watch if a tornado warning is extended there for Allegheny County. Right now it's for Potter County until 1:45 p.m. Right now we have another one, as you can see, tornado warning issued for northeastern Allegheny County. We've been watching that cell too. Severe thunderstorm warning has been on it. Now it's looking like the rotation is getting stronger there. So zooming in, that tornado warning continuing now for portions of the southern tier for northeastern Allegheny County. And that continues to move to the northeast at 45 miles per hour. We're getting live updates right now on this warning that was just issued moments ago. This severe storm capable of producing that tornado located 8 miles southwest of Dansville and moving to the northeast. So radar indicated rotation, and that's what we're seeing with a lot of these thunderstorms that are moving through, at least many of them, as they tap into that wind shear. Our environment is ripe for it, as we've been saying it, Dan. And so this is something we're continuing to monitor because as these storms move through, they're tapping into that wind shear, and it's allowing these storms to have some of that rotation and then producing at least some of these, already seeing some of these severe storms producing tornado like the one that we're continuing to track across Erie County right now that's now shifting into Genesee and Wyoming County, continuing to have a warning on that.
Yeah, Jen, I mean, we were looking at this yesterday. We were looking at the information coming in today, and we were seeing parameters that we do not see all too often here in Western New York. And this was one of the concerns, especially heading into this afternoon, the chance for these strong to severe storms. And of course, we have seen that and some. As far as official storm reports, of course, a lot of these reports are official, that the tornado actually on the ground, but we've had some wind damage, of course, areas in and around Silver Creek, Forestville, and then stretching all the way back down towards Ripley. I would have to imagine, of course, we've seen the drone footage there. We're going to see a lot more storm reports pop up in this general zone as we go through the next few hours as those reports do come in. But of course, we still have this tornado warn cell, again, making its way through Genesee County. You can still see that hook in the signature here, especially right there on the tail end. It's right here. It's in this particular part of the storm. More than likely, that is where we would potentially see a tornado making its way down to the ground. And again, this storm is racing off to the north and east. And so as we've been mentioning, areas in and around Batavia, take shelter right now. And as we travel further south, and just within the last couple of minutes, as we've been here live, here's a new tornado warn cell, extreme northeastern Allegheny County, pushing into southern Livingston County, areas in and around Dansville, 390, the Genesee Valley. And as we continue to travel even further south, again, there's that other tornado warn cell that we're also tracking across portions of northern Potter County, now pushing into portions of southern Allegheny County. And you can see the supercell nature of these cells. We're not talking about a squall line, a big line of thunderstorms, but it's this cellular nature. And when you see that, that's when we have these cells that can spin up these potential tornadoes. And here we are, not too often, Jen, not too often. How often in your career have we seen 1, 2, 3 warned cells at any one given moment.
It's been many years, but I do remember a weekend about maybe 10 years ago where we had several tornado warnings over a course of a Saturday and a Sunday. And it was very much like we've been talking about, where you have some of these stronger, severe storms where they're getting some of the rotation. They have a tornado touch down and then it lifts and it's more sporadic and then it drops again. And that's what we've been seeing with this severe storm we've been tracking since Chautauqua counties, with that possible tornado touchdown for Silver Creek. And then again in North Collins, Eden. So National Weather Service has several places that they're going to be going out and assessing the damage once the severe weather threat clears, because we'll be getting many damage reports of trees down. A lot of that does look like wind damage, straight line wind damage. But also it looked a little bit of tornadic too, a little bit of rotation with how those trees are lying down. So the Weather Service folks will be definitely having plenty to assess, many spots, as we continue to look at these severe storms popping through the afternoon, too. We have that tornado watch at 9 p.m.
Yep. As we continue to especially track these as they move east. It reminds me a lot of the Hamburg tornado a bit ago. A very somewhat similar setup, if you remember. That was late July, going to early August. It was a couple of weeks before the Erie County Fair. So this reminds me a lot of that day when we were also covering tornado warnings at that time. So again, it is this cell right here. This is Genesee County. We have Batavia right here. Here's the 90. And again, this is the cell that has had a history of producing the tornado that we have actually seen observed on the ground. So again, you definitely have to take this storm seriously as it continues to race, and I mean race off to the north and east at a pretty good clip. We're talking 40, 45, even as high as 50 miles per hour. And of course, we have this particular tornado warn cell now moving through Dansville. That activity will continue to race further into areas of the Finger Lakes and eventually towards areas of central New York. Not too often does the Severe Weather Center in Norman, Oklahoma, give a enhanced risk for severe weather in New York State, and that's exactly what we have had in place today, especially into areas of the Finger Lakes and central New York, which of course is where all this active weather is located. And there you go, Jen, just like that, as we're coming at you with wall-to-wall live coverage, this is a new tornado warn cell. So they extended that tornado warning that was there in Potter County, there in northern Pennsylvania. They have now extended that now into southern Allegheny County, so you can see south of Wellsville. Look at all this lightning here. I mean, that is almost constant. Look at this, Jen. I mean, that is pretty much continuous lightning. So this is certainly a nasty storm here as well. And again, this is pushing through portions of southern Allegheny County. And as we widen out, again, we have these several now tornado warn cells. And this is why we've had that weather impact alert in place for today. Again, we have the one that we've been tracking for quite a while now. That particular storm cell, again, that developed down into areas of Chautauqua County and has just been racing off to the north and east. And there you go. There it is. They're going to continue and extend that tornado warning, which does include areas in and around Batavia and also areas of northern Genesee County. There's that particular storm. That will continue to push into the Finger Lakes out of our coverage and viewing area. But again, we also have that storm that is sitting there in southern Allegheny County that continues to also track to the north and east and will eventually be making its way into areas of Stuben County as we do go through the next at least hour or so. I think as we get further into this afternoon, things will quiet down. And that's why we say, let these storms take cover. Let these storms pass overhead. You'll be able to get back outside if you need to. But again, here's the cell that just prompted another tornado warning with it as it does race again off to the north and east. You can see Batavia right now dealing with that moderate rain, but just off to your west. This is where the worst of the weather is. And if there is a tornado, that's potentially where it would be located. So again, we have several of these tornado warn cells as we put that tracker on there for you. Again, whether it's in and around Byron here at about 203 and eventually towards Bergen, Sweden, Ogden, and eventually areas in and around Rochester, they're also going to be under the gun as we get further into this afternoon, Jen. So again, this is turning out to be, we saw the potential for this yesterday, but boy, not too often do we see this amount of tornado warn cells here all in western New York.
And this level of instability, we were looking at that yesterday with the wind shear and the instability, what we measure in joules per kilogram. I mean, we were reaching about 3,500. And so normally we don't see that high. So all of us under a tornado watch until 9 p.m. for western New York and northern Pennsylvania. We don't see that often either, Dan. And we do have some updates here on several tornado warnings that continue for portions of western New York, including this one, tornado warning for southeastern Allegheny County. It goes until 2:15 p.m. Now, a severe thunderstorm there capable of producing a tornado. There's a live update for you. Radar indicated some rotation, but that severe storm located near Genesee or 7 miles south of Wellsville, and it's moving northeast at 35 miles per hour. So this is another storm we're watching. As you can see, the box indicating its direction and impacting areas such as Wellsville potentially could see this moving overhead and over Independence and Willing as well. And we could see continuing that movement to the northeast, 35 miles per hour, so going slightly slower than some of these other severe storms. Putting a tracker on this, these are the communities that could be impacted, including Hallsport, Fulmer Valley, Elm Valley, Andover, West Union, and Barney Mills. I wanted to give you another look here, a wider shot. So we have the tornado warning continuing for northeastern Allegheny County, a tornado warning for southeastern Allegheny County, and we still have that tornado warning continuing for Genesee County right now. And here's an update on that warning. National Weather Service, that tornado warning continuing, as you can see here. It does include the Batavia area as well, across portions of Genesee County. And zooming in, you can see communities being impacted by that. And there is an update to the warning here. I'm pulling it up now. As this continues to move across Genesee, it might clip the southeastern portion of Orleans County, also under a tornado warning, which goes until 2:30 p.m. Now, National Weather Service saying it is getting a report of there was a tornado located near Attica or near Batavia moving northeast at 30 miles per hour. So we're continuing. That report just coming in a few minutes ago. So Dan, we're continuing to see this storm. I mean, it's not losing any steam.
No, it's holding its structure. We showed you that you can even see it there just north and west of Batavia, that inflow notch. You know, we've also had a report or numerous reports of damage out of this storm, not just an observed tornado. In fact, here it is, just came in with the last couple of minutes, again, around 12:40 when this cell that we've been talking about, Jen, this is when it moved just through North Boston. A roof off at least one house in East Eden, damage to at least 2 others, several trees and power lines down in East Eden. So again, this is confirmed damage out of this tornado warned cell as it continues to race now through portions of Genesee County. Batavia, at least downtown Batavia, looks as though you might just miss, but boy, it is right here. If there is something that is making its way down to the ground at the moment, again, this storm, it might have what's called a skipping style tornado, but if it is down on the ground at this moment, it's going to be in this general area where that would be occurring. So take that and then track it further to the north and east. That is where that potential mesocyclone and that potential tornado would be heading. Of course, we also have this nasty storm that also has a tornado warning with it for southern Livingston County, pushing into the Finger Lakes, luckily out of our viewing area. And again, boy, I just can't get over the amount of lightning that we're seeing out of this particular cell here in southern Allegheny County. Again, this is a dangerous storm here, not only because it has a tornado warning with it, but boy, just the amount of lightning within this storm cell is very impressive, pretty much constant here. And this is, again, just south of Wellsville, also racing into portions of Stuben County as we go through the next little bit. So as we kind of widen out, Buffalo for the time being, we are in the clear, but there are still a couple of isolated showers to the south that we are going to continue to track. But again, you can see a lot of the main action is now shifting further to the east, and we do have still several of these tornado-warned cells that are now making their way into portions of the Genesee Valley and stretching further to the north and east. But again, we have this particular cell here in Allegheny County, Jim, and then of course we also have the cell that we continue to track across portions of Genesee County. There's that particular cell, again, now making its way through Dansville, pushing towards the Finger Lakes. And again, all this activity is pushing to the north and east at a pretty good clip, upwards of 45, 50 miles per hour. But this is the cell right here that we've been certainly tracking. It's had several tornado warnings with it going back to when it was located, as it really made its way across portions of the Pennsylvania-New York state line down towards Ripley. And again, this storm has held its structure. It doesn't look all that impressive, but that's not the kind of atmospheric setup that we have. It's more about the structure just within this cell, and that's where we do have enough of that what we call the mesocyclone, enough of that rotation in the atmosphere that can help spin up some of these weak tornadoes. So again, Jen, we're going to continue to track this as all this will continue to push to the north and east. But boy, what an afternoon that we are currently seeing.
Right. Tornado watch continuing until 9 p.m. for Western New York and northern Pennsylvania. So these storms, as they continue to develop and move through, I mean, they're tapping into that very unstable environment, and they continue to move into that unstable environment. And that's why they're not losing much steam, as we've been tracking severe storms heading from Chautauqua County across Erie and now moving over Genesee County, and continuing to see some potential tornado touchdowns with that severe storm. I wanted to show you a wider shot here, yellow indicating that tornado watch for Western New York and northern Pennsylvania, the red boxes indicating current active tornado warnings. We have several for our area, as you can see, the one continuing for Genesee County and for Allegheny County as well. Notice the tornado warning for northeastern Allegheny County was allowed to expire as it shifted out of our area, but we continue to watch several spots of severe storms across southeastern Allegheny County. We continue to have the warning there, and of course, the one that we've been continuing to track for the last couple hours, that tornado warning for this severe storm continuing to move across Genesee County. And we continue to monitor this as we're continuing to see some confirmed reports of tornado touchdowns out of this. I would even call it a supercell thunderstorm, Dan. We're seeing that structure of this capable of, we saw the wall cloud for some of those pictures, some of these tornado touchdown reports out of this across several counties, and now continuing across Genesee County, the tornado warning until 2:30 p.m. here in Genesee County. So we're going to zoom in here, and you can see the bulk of the hazardous weather from this storm right now, moving across, as you can see, headed into Elba along the 262 there, East Oakfield, Langdon Corners. And this is continuing to move to the northeast at 40 miles per hour. So this expected to impact several more communities as it continues its track even into Orleans County, that southeastern section of Orleans County. So those of you in East Oakfield, Elba, Pumpkin Hill, Honest Hill, heads up, this storm is heading your direction. And right now it doesn't look like things are going to be expiring at this moment, at least, for this severe storm that we continue to get reports, Dan, of tornado touchdowns from it.
Again, I've been covering weather here in West New York for quite some time, and not too often do we have this level of activity and reports. In fact, I want to go over the history of this cell that we've been tracking. You got to go back all the way to around 1142. This is in Ripley. This was one of the first damage reports that came in, and it's the same storm cell. So it has certainly held together. This was a tree down on Klondike Road near Ripley. This came right from the county sheriff. So again, this was before noon, and here we are just a little bit before 2 p.m., and we're still tracking this same cell, of course, as it did track north and east in and around Forestville. Numerous reports. Of course, we showed you some of the drone footage. Numerous reports of damage in and around Forestville. This was at about 12:19. Again, a trained spotter reported tree damage on Center Street in Forestville. And then we were just mentioning, it just came in here in the last few minutes, some of the damage reports in and around Boston. And as I was mentioning, I'm going to imagine that we're going to have lots of these damage reports really start filling in here as we go through the next couple of hours. This is North Boston. Again, roof off at least one house with potential damage to several other structures. And we actually do have some live footage there. This is in Eden. This is live pictures coming out of Eden. And boy, you could see some of the damage there, Jen. You could see the tree limbs that are down there and certainly some damage in and around Eden with these live images coming at you.
Yeah, you can, and we're talking about how National Weather Service folks are going to have several spots that they're going to be heading out to assess the damage for where we saw the tornado touchdowns. There are several spots where we're getting trees down from those possible tornado touchdowns across several counties.
Yep, it looks like we have a structure here as well. So more confirmed damage, not just to plants and trees, but also to structures. So we have structural damage. And of course, we've had reports of structural damage, especially again, going from that Forestville to Eden, Boston area. That's when this storm, Jen, was really humming. Again, very impressive there. And if you look close enough there, right there in the middle of your screen, you can see that fresh wood, that really fresh. You can see that tree was just freshly snapped there. So definitely some damage there into the woods. Lots of trees down there. Actually, looks, you can see numerous tree limbs and branches. So definitely damage. Whether or not it was from a tornado, that's once you get there on the spot and you look at the nature of it and where it's kind of laying down, whether it was caused by spinning winds or those straight line winds. Regardless, it really doesn't matter because a straight line winds at 70, 80 miles per hour are just as strong as, say, an EF0 or possibly an EF1 tornado. So even straight line winds can do just as much damage as, say, a weak tornado. But again, these are live images from Eden right now showing you some of the damage that we're seeing there.
And there's been many spots where we've been seeing the damage reports.
Yeah, Dan and Jen, I just want to jump in here. Dan, you mentioned a couple times you've never seen anything like this in Western New York. Or it's been a long time if that has happened.
Long time.
Is there terminology for this number of tornado warnings through an area like we've seen in the Midwest where there has been a tornado outbreak? Is there a classification for that where the National Weather Service might have to look at that further down the road?
Maybe down the road. Obviously, here in West New York, this is a rarity. You know, usually when we'll have a tornado warned cell, it's just that one tornado warned cell. And while that's not super rare, it's certainly something that doesn't happen all too often, but to get, say, 3 warnings at the same time, that's the rarity. But that also goes to show you just the nature of the atmosphere. And remember, we got to go back. This is a tropical system.
Yeah, the strength that Beryl has carried with it.
Yes, this is what's left of Beryl. And just that alone, think of the spin in the atmosphere, the vorticity we're talking about. So this is a little bit of a different setup than we typically see when we do have severe weather, just because of Beryl and that tropical nature of this storm. And while we have seen several of these cells race across the area, look though, the sun is out there. And so that's what we were mentioning. So if you are in the path of these storms, take shelter, find that interior room, that windowless room, as close to the interior and as low as you can possibly get if you are in the path of any of these storms. Let it pass overhead because look, it's just like that. It's like the lights come right back on and the sun's right back out. And obviously in this particular case, and we can see some of the damage now in the aftermath.
Yeah, and I want to address, you already see crews out there. We've had Dave McKinley down in Forestville where he's got some video of an elderly woman that was transported after she ran into a tree that had fallen. So again, if you're in a car in these situations, it's always advised to pull over, duck below the glass so you're safe there. But again, crews going to be working through the coming days, perhaps the next couple, to make sure that these things are cleared up and folks are able to get back on the road, back to normal. And as far as Erie County is concerned, these tornado warnings have exited our area, but we've got these other 2 through Genesee and then south to Allegheny County and then one central to the Finger Lakes right now, where much of Western New York and into the Finger Lakes region up to Rochester are all going to be dealing with some of the same stuff. Look to Western New York as your first taste of this, as well as to the Midwest where there were some pop-up storms over the past couple days. Those have been covered by NBC News quite a bit. But again, here in Eden, some live video for you down there where a structure appears to be damaged. There's some damaged trees around this area as well, snapped right in half. Fresh wood, as Dan had mentioned as well. So lots to cover here, and lots with these 2 remaining tracks, which are continuing through 2:15 was the last time we had there for these tornado warnings in Allegheny County and Genesee County. So lots to keep track here. Dan or Jen, you want to take a look at how those are progressing? How are the storms looking in those areas?
You read my mind. We just got an update on the tornado warning for southeastern Allegheny County that goes until 2:15 p.m. So radar indicating some rotation with this severe storm that continues to move through that county. So zooming in, and we could put a tracker on this. It is exiting the county momentarily, but right now we still have that warning on this. It's moving just east of Wellsville, as you can see here behind me. So zooming in, the bulk of this impacted hazardous part of the storm, moving through Independence, heading into Andover, and also along the 417. So that's one severe storm we're tracking. Also, we're continuing to watch tornado warning continuing for Genesee County until 2:30 p.m. and to include the southeastern corner of Orleans County. So zooming in here, you could see it's clearing out most of Genesee County right now. So you can see that box. So the box will be updated. But right now the radar, this is the portion that we're looking at. And we're continuing to see that severe storm capable of producing a tornado. We've already gotten reports of confirmed reports of tornado touchdown out of this. There's that live update. And right now you can see it is now shifting right along the border of Genesee and Orleans County, so impacting communities such as South Bar, and also still Langdon Corners at the southern end of this. So this is continuing to move to the northeast. We're seeing these storms moving about 35 to 40 miles per hour to the northeast. So this is something that we're continuing to watch right now on Oak Orchard Road, right at the border there, right near the 98. We're continuing to see that severe storm. So it looks like the bulk of it now is focusing on Orleans County. So Clarendon headed toward you, and also South Bar right now it's moving through, and also zooming in, you could see here Manning. So these are communities that we're going to continue to watch and track this severe storm that still, Dan, is capable of producing a tornado. Yeah,
you know, the good news, Jen, I was just looking at some of those last updates. This particular cell, though, as far as where it's been here over the last couple of hours, this is about as unorganized and as weak as it has looked. So somewhat of a good news there. But at the same time, we do still have a tornado warning with this cell. If there was anything, it'd be one of these little notches right here where you see these bright colors. It's these little notches where you get that influx of air that could spin up a little bit of a tornado. This would be a very weak tornado, especially with how this particular cell is looking. But nonetheless, because of its history, you must take this storm seriously. Again, it is tracking off to the north and east. Jen was mentioning areas in and around Clarendon. That's pretty much where this storm is heading, and then eventually into portions of western Monroe County, whether it's in and around Sweden, Brockport. Those are some of the communities that will be under the gun a little bit ago. And then here's this cell, and boy, this one's also, I think, this one's looking, Jen, I think a little bit more robust. It is getting its act together even more so. This is the tornado warned cell that we've been tracking here in Allegheny County, really right on the border of Allegheny County, now pushing into Stuben County. You get just south of Andover. This is where we've been seeing all that lightning. Again, a lot of lightning with this cell, which is dangerous enough. There we go, take that lightning off for you so you can really see that structure. And this cell also has some nice structure to it. There's the update right there, getting ready to push into areas of Stuben County. But again, this is also another tornado warned cell. And as we widen out, you can see a lot of the heavier weather does continue to push off to the east, but we still have a couple of these isolated showers behind it. Not seeing any thunder or lightning out of some of this activity, but whether it's this shower just south of Warsaw or even in and around Irving, stretching down towards maybe Cherry Creek, we're also dealing with some showers. Jen, there's some good news for you right there coming at you live. that tornado warning has been canceled. So we were just saying how that storm, the structure of it just didn't look as impressive. So definitely some good news there. But again, we still have some active weather here in Allegheny County with a tornado warning there, moving into areas of Stuben County. And as I continue, I want to widen out even more so because there's a little bit more activity, especially in the areas of Pennsylvania. But again, Batavia, you're now in the clear. That storm has since bushed off to your north and east. And again, it has weakened considerably, and it will continue to move into areas of Monroe County here as we go through the next, say, 10, 15 or so minutes. But again, as we widen back out, some of the activity, Jen, this is something we'll have to keep an eye out for, is this cell right there in portions of western Pennsylvania. It is lifting to the north. So Chautauqua County, once again, that's a cell that we're going to have to keep an eye out for. So especially if you're watching in and around maybe Clymer, Sherman, Panama, southwestern Chautauqua County, that's the cell that we're going to be tracking for you as we go through the next little bit, because as of now, while it is outside of our viewing area, it does have a tornado warning with it. And if it does hold together, could potentially be heading. And there it is. You can kind of see that south to north track there. So portions of Chautauqua County, again, different than that 90 corridor like we saw earlier with that initial storm, but especially southern Chautauqua County. That is a cell that we're going to have to keep an eye out for as we certainly go through the next 30 to 40 minutes. If it does hold its structure, you can see they're updating that tornado warning right there, right now, as it is flashing. And if that does, again, hold its structure, I would have to imagine we'll end up seeing a tornado warning extended into areas of either southern Chautauqua County. So again, Jen, not too often this would now be, I mean, we can't even count how many tornado warnings that we have actually had this afternoon, but they keep just rolling along here.
One, as you said, was allowed to expire. Actually, that one in southeastern Orleans County, that tornado warning was canceled.
Yes.
So that's some good news. It appears that that storm no longer capable of producing a tornado. But I say at the moment because we've still seen it regenerize as it continues to shift across our area. However, as we were looking at the model data yesterday and the updates today, at least the environment, Batavia northward, not as capable of supporting these supercells and these tornado producing storms. So it makes sense that this would be falling apart as it weakens as it moves to the northeast.
Absolutely. As we get further into this afternoon, I think even here in western New York, Jen, things are going to, I think, really begin to quiet down, say, once we get past, even though we do have the tornado watch, I think it's going to be one of those watches that gets kind of cut into from west to east as we go through the evening hours. So while it does extend into the evening, I don't think the conditions are going to be ripe as we go through the evening hours for some more severe weather. But boy, at least here in the near term, we are still tracking some very active weather. Of course, this is a zoomed in look of that tornado warned cell. This is extreme southeastern Allegheny County. You can see Wellsville right there. So just to the east of Wellsville, this storm headed right towards Greenwood. And I think this is the storm, again, now shifting into areas of Stuben County that's really going to kind of get its act together, if you will. And as we zoom out, of course, here in Buffalo, I know when I came in just a bit ago, I was kind of following this line, Jen, as I was driving in. You could see some of the heavy rain, but boy, most of it has actually, as far as the truly impactful weather, the majority of it has now shifted towards the Genesee Valley and now into areas of the Finger Lakes. And that's where we did have that enhanced risk for tornadic activity. So certainly that forecast has come to fruition, but we still have at least a few of these hit or miss showers to contend with. And I mentioned that one particular cell that is sitting just south of that New York State, Pennsylvania line, but at least, again, where we were tracking that cell as it passed just to the west of Batavia. Batavia, you're now looking pretty good. That storm has since moved out, now moving into areas of Monroe County, and it has weakened. Here's that expanded look. And again, I think this is going to be that particular cell that we're going to have to keep an eye out for as we go through the next 15 to 20 minutes. Nonetheless, if you are, say, in and around Panama, you probably want to take shelter anyways, just in case this cell does hold together as it does lift. And of course, areas in and around Chautauqua Lake, I think you have another pretty nasty little storm that you're going to have to contend with as we go through the next little bit. But the overall trend is for a lot of this activity as we get further into this evening, a lot of this activity. And you can see whether it's areas into the Finger Lakes, pushing eastward, even north of Syracuse. We have a tornado warning cell there. So it's not just here in western New York, but it's all throughout the Finger Lakes, central New York, and eventually pushing towards eastern New York as we go through this evening. So yeah, Jen, I think we do have a little bit more of some of this active weather, and I'm a little concerned again about that particular cell there getting ready to cross the New York State-Pennsylvania line. But I think once that kind of rolls on through, I think that's when we can really try to quiet things down here as we get further into this evening.
We can get focused on one storm, but you need to always remember, I remember meteorology school, you got to always have that bigger picture and watch what's coming. So we are watching, of course, Warren County, that severe storm. We also have a new tornado warning, Dan, across Potter County in northern PA. We've been watching that particular cell too. Tornado warning now issued just moments ago for Potter County, tornado warning until 3 p.m. You can see that cell. Severe storm capable of producing a tornado over Sweden right now. So tornado warning continuing there till 3 p.m. and that severe storm capable of producing radar indicated some rotation. So we could see a spin up out of this one. That storm located over Denton Hill State Park, moving northeast 30 miles per hour. So this is another one that we are closely monitoring. And as Dan and I have been talking about, these are the areas where we're seeing conducive, favorable for these spin-ups, these tornadoes to be produced in these severe thunderstorms. We got a lot of wind shear in place, a lot of instability. So as these storms get going, they can start rotating and produce a tornado. So right now we'll zoom in, and this is what we're seeing for this severe storm moving through Sweden right now. It continues to move to the northeast, so putting a tracker for communities being impacted by this storm. Brooklyn, Gold, Ulysses, Hector, and Elma seek shelter. Tornado warning is in effect for Potter County for these communities. So heed the warning, safety first. We are going to look at a wider shot now. As you can see, we still have another tornado warning continuing for Allegheny County for that southeastern corner of the county. So I want to zoom in there, and you can see actually the yellow indicating the tornado watch for all of Western New York. But we're going to zoom in here, and there's that warning continuing for areas such as Andover and Willing, and also some impactful weather moving through Independence right now. The bulk of the storm will continue to move to the northeast, as you can see, the most impactful portion of it and out of the county, but we still have that warning continuing for just a little longer for this county. And I'll bring up that warning and confirm there are no further updates on this. That continues for the southeastern corner of Allegheny County. So the tornado warning continuing for just a few more minutes, Dan, till 2:15 for Allegheny County. But now we continue to watch Potter County, and then of course tracking that cell over, of course, Warren County. Yeah, that could be shifting into Chautauqua.
Yep, we're gonna put a tracker on there here momentarily. But Jen, check this out. These are the damage reports that have, again, they're coming in by the minute, and just look at where these reports are located and the orientation of it. That right there, Jen, tells me this was maybe one of those skipping moments where they did have that tornado on the ground. You can see where we have damage, all lined up there just north and west of Clarksburg. Again, this is also the same storm that moved towards North Boston. That storm, luckily, has finally at least weakened down to a severe thunderstorm warning and now pushing out of our viewing area, now pushing through portions of Monroe County. But getting back to some of these tornado warned cells, you can see now just to the east of Andover, right along 417 there, pushing into Stuben County. This is certainly a nasty storm that's producing a lot of cloud to ground lightning. And then this is that new tornado warned cell that Jen was just mentioning a little further south into areas of Potter County, Pennsylvania. This storm, again, tracking to the north and east. And all of these are what we call supercells. They're all individual storm cells where they look fairly small. And for the most part, they are small as far as aerial coverage. But boy, when you have this kind of setup, it's where these little storms have a really efficient way of getting those mesocyclones to develop and then eventually possibly producing a tornado. So again, the atmosphere is still very ripe, especially areas as we continue to track into this evening, areas further east. But even behind some of this activity, we're still going to have to keep an eye on some of these still leftover showers and individual cells that are still trying to pop up even behind that main line. But there's that one cell that we're going to continue to track again, just south of the New York State, Pennsylvania line. This cell does have a tornado warning with it, and it is lifting to the north as it's moving to the north also at about 35 miles per hour. So as we do put that tracker on there, again, as it does make its way into Chautauqua County, if it holds together its strength, looks like they're updating the tornado warning here at the moment into areas of northern Pennsylvania. But with that tracker on there, you can see some of the areas that are going to be underneath it, whether it's eventually up towards Blockville at 235, North Harmony here at 240, and again, I was mentioning it a little bit ago, Chautauqua Lake, Bemis Point around 245. So we still have a nasty storm. It looks as though making its way into southern portions of Chautauqua County, which still could have at least the potential to produce at least some straight line winds, if not that weak tornado. But overall, you can really see how this activity is now lining up. Again, we still have some of this residual activity here across the southern tier. And of course, that new tornado warned cell that just got updated just south of that New York State, Pennsylvania line. But as I put this map into motion, you can see where a lot of this activity is heading. And then upstream, while we do have a couple of spot showers, we're just not dealing with the truly active weather that we've been tracking here over the last now almost 3 hours, Jen. So this has been a very active early afternoon with some of the most numerous tornado warned cells that I can remember covering weather here in Western New York. It's been quite the afternoon.
It's been many years. I think maybe about 10 years ago was the last time we had these many warnings and a tornado watch for our entire area, which continues till 9 p.m. But we'll see if they do drop it a little sooner as the environment, we might see it becoming more stabilized. As we get through this latest round. But the environment's still capable, favorable for any of these storms that develop, especially when we're looking at that, the instability. It's really south of Buffalo, extending to a line just south of Batavia is where we have the most instability. So when you see these storms kind of tracking further to the north, like that one we were seeing moving into Genesee County, they do kind of fall apart. So that's at least some good news.
Think of just the motion of these storm cells. You know, a lot of what we've been tracking this afternoon, they've been moving to the north and east, but now we have a storm almost moving due south to north. So that alone kind of goes to show you we got a lot of movement going on in the atmosphere there because of, again, this is a tropical system. This is what's left of Beryl that is tracking just to our north and west, helping to provide all this spin. And again, a lot of the heaviest of weather is now tracking off to the east. We still have a couple of tornado warnings here. So that tornado warned cell there in Potter County, but a lot of this now shifting into areas of the Finger Lakes. But we still have this cell here. I think as we go to about the next 15 to 20 minutes, we'll have a good idea whether or not this cell can hold together and make its way into portions of Chautauqua County. At the very least, whether we have a tornado warned cell here or a severe thunderstorm warning with this particular cell, it's still going to be a pretty nasty thunderstorm, certainly one in which you want to take shelter if you are watching, especially in the areas of southern Chautauqua County where you kind of missed out on that initial round off to the northern Chautauqua County. But now, again, we are tracking that particular cell and that tornado warning. Again, nothing into Chautauqua County at the moment. But, of course, that very well could change as we go through the next little bit. And, again, we continue to track all of these. I mean, look at all the tornado warnings stretching from areas around Rochester, through the Finger Lakes, down into the southern tier, through Stuben County, and also, of course, into Potter County, where we have that cell that continues to track to the north and east, where we still have a tornado warning there. But boy, not too often do you see this kind of setup where you have this many tornado warned cells out of this. And again, it goes to show you how much spin in the atmosphere we actually have. And as we do get further into this afternoon, here is Future Look showing a lot of that activity, again, racing to the east. Here we are at 5:30, and you can see there's not a whole lot of activity. We still have a few scattered showers to contend with, but I do think as we do head into the evening hours, while there might be a quick little passing shower, maybe even a decent little thunderstorm, they're going to be few and far between. And of course, all leading into tomorrow, where there might be a couple leftover showers early, But boy, after today's active weather, Jen, I think we're going to see a nice break as we head into the second half of this week.
We'll finally get rid of all that tropical moisture. It'll be shifting out. We have a live look right now at Chautauqua Lake. So let's bring this in.
Okay.
And we're continuing to, I'm looking at the radar there right now for Chautauqua Lake. Looks like we are getting just some showers through there, but we're going to be watching that severe storm that has a tornado warning on it through Warren County, Pennsylvania, that's continuing to head towards Chautauqua County. So we're monitoring that closely as we are still seeing conditions favorable for producing not only these severe storms, but capable of producing tornadic activity too, as they continue to move across the southern tier, southern Erie County potentially, and into Wyoming County. That's where we see the bulk of the most favorable conditions. As we look at a wider shot, we still have that tornado watch continuing for all of western New York and into northern Pennsylvania until 9 p.m. You can see not as much red on the screen. We even have even more favorable conditions off to the east. So you can see that's where we actually have several tornado warnings as you head into the Finger Lakes. But locally, still enough instability where we could still be dealing with isolated severe storms and tornado warnings. So this is what we have right now. As we zoom in, I wanted to kind of update you on what we're seeing. That tornado warned storm that moved through Erie and Genesee County has now exited the area and now is impacting areas east of Genesee County. So that warning was allowed to expire there, that tornado warning. Also for Allegheny County, no warnings at the moment there, as that severe storm has exited the county as well. Still some very heavy rain, though, through Andover at the moment. Where we continue to have tornado warnings, northern Pennsylvania right now, tornado warning goes until 3 p.m. This afternoon for that northeastern corner of Potter County. So we're continuing to get updates, and this is what the latest update is for that tornado warned storm for northeastern Potter County. It continues to be capable of producing a tornado. Radar indicated some rotation. Located over Denton Hills State Park, it's continuing to move to the northeast at 30 miles per hour. And there's a live update for you. I'm going to zoom in showing it's right over Ulysses right now and the 49, and continues to move northeast toward Mills. And Binghamton could be impacted by this as well. So I want to put a tracker on this for you, and that continues moving northeast. So Harris Valley, North Fork, that is, Brookfield, all on the path of this potentially tornadic thunderstorm. And as we look also, we've been talking about, Dan and I, here's this storm. So it's a tornado warning on this as well in Warren County in northern Pennsylvania. It is right on the border of Chautauqua County. So we're watching this closely. Right now there is a tornado warning on this severe thunderstorm. Currently in Warren County, it goes until 2:45 p.m. there. But you can see a portion of that storm is now already extending into southern Chautauqua County. And you could see already some communities being impacted by this storm, including Cherry Hill and just starting to move into Harmony. And this is moving to also the northeast at 30 miles per hour. So holding its act together, potentially, I'll put a tracker on this for impacting potentially communities across southern Chautauqua County, Watts Flats, Harmony, Blockville, Asheville, and Lakewood and Bellevue as well. So severe thunderstorms continuing to pop across our area with damaging winds in excess of 60 miles per hour. Even if we don't have a tornado warning on it, could still be dealing with downed trees, damage to property. So this is something we right now are particularly zoning in on right now, this storm, Dan. Yeah,
because a lot of that initial activity is now moving out of the viewing area. But boy, it did have a history of doing quite a bit of damage, of course. It also had a history of officially producing a tornado on the ground, an observed tornado on the ground. And again, it was just before noon in and around Ripley as that initial storm crossed the New York State-Pennsylvania line. here. We had a tree down on Klondike Road near Ripley. Report coming right from the county sheriff. So again, these are official observations coming in. That storm then tracked further to the north and east. Of course, we had some damage in and around Forestville. This was from a train spotter reporting tree damage. Of course, we were showing you some of the drone footage and also some of the damage in and around Eden, and especially again with that drone footage in and around Forestville. And then look at this, just west of Boston, I was showing you. Here's 4 damage reports in a row. This is a classic signature where more than likely this is when we did have that tornado on the ground. You can see it just north and west of Clarksburg, but these are all again damage reports. And of course that storm continued to track further to the north and east. It has since left the area and it has weakened. And this is the tornado warning cell that we were tracking into areas of Allegheny County. It has now moved out of Allegheny County, pushing through portions of southern Stuben County. But we still have this little guy right here. And again, it doesn't look all that impressive, but that's not the atmosphere where we're talking about a massive complex of storms. It's these individual cells, what we call supercells, that really just put on a life of their own. And they have that ability to spin up these brief potential tornadoes. So again, something we'll continue to track. That's just kind of the atmosphere that we have here. And again, this storm is also tracking to the north and east. So eventually say north of Westfield and pushing also towards areas of southern Stuben County. But as we continue to widen out, you can see some of the activity even behind it that we continue to track. And then just like that, there you go, Jen. We were watching this cell as it was making its way through northern Pennsylvania. And again, coming at you with live coverage right now. Here we are at 2:25 this afternoon, and we now have a new tornado warning now in place, which does include areas around Jamestown. So take cover, Jamestown. You got a shower, a pretty good downpour overhead right now. That is not the actual storm. The actual storm is, the main of it is just crossing that New York State, Pennsylvania line. And as you can see here, it's a fairly small storm, but that's not, don't let that kind of fool you, if you will. Take this storm seriously because these storms, again, have had a history of producing damage. And again, this one, instead of tracking northeast, is almost tracking due north. So again, Jamestown, Bemis Point, these are some of the areas. In fact, we're going to throw a tracker on there and you can see some of the areas that are going to be getting hit as we go through the next half hour or so, whether it's North Harmony, Ellery, and eventually, again, pushing even north of Chautauqua Lake, eventually up towards, say, Cherry Creek, as we get further into the 2 o'clock hour and eventually into the 3 o'clock hour. But again, the atmosphere is still ripe, especially here into the southern tier, where we continue to track a new tornado warning cell. Just add another one here on this very active early afternoon. And as I do continue to widen out, it's all thanks to this right here. And you can see that spin in the atmosphere. That is actually the center of what is left of Beryl right there off to our south and west. So this is going to continue to track just off to our north and west, or maybe even clip portions of western New York. So we're still going to have some of these scattered showers here as we go through this evening and even into tonight. But I think once we do try to move on from this active weather, once this does ultimately push out of here, things will quiet down here as we do head into this evening. But of course, as we get right back to it, it is this particular storm right here now pushing into southern Chautauqua County, including areas around Jamestown, where we now have that new tornado warning in place. So again, Jen, we were tracking it. We were keeping an eye on it because it was certainly still looking healthy. And there you go, right here on air with that new tornado warning.
It's holding together. A tornado warning just issued moments ago for Cattaraugus and Chautauqua County. So update on that. Tornado warning until 3:15 p.m. As you can see here for that southwestern corner of Cattaraugus and the southeastern portion of Chautauqua County. So radar indicated some rotation once again. This is what we're seeing with these severe storms, and this severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Lottsville, or 11 miles southwest of Jamestown, and continues its track to the northeast, 35 miles per hour. So zooming in, these are the communities being impacted right now. The worst of the storm right now, most hazardous, moving through Cherry Hill currently, right on the border there of Warren and Chautauqua County. And as we zoom in here, Watts Flats and Harmony, seeing impacts from this storm. So we will put a tracker on this. It continues to move to the northeast. So these are the communities that we could be dealing with this. Ellery, Asheville, Bust-I, Jamestown could even be clipped by this severe storm. Falconer, Geary, and Redbird, Ellington. So these are the areas that we're continuing to watch for this severe storm capable of producing a tornado continuing to move to the northeast at 35 miles per hour. This storm, tornado warned, has a warning on it until 3:15 p.m. So this is just another round of severe weather that we're continuing to monitor as we continue through the afternoon. We are going to continue to see these isolated, strong to even severe producing possible tornadoes, thunderstorms coming through. So our conditions, our atmosphere favorable for it. We have conditions ripe to still see these potentially dangerous severe storms moving through, capable of producing tornadoes. So the latest one right now we're watching across southern Chautauqua County, making its way near Jamestown, and is expected to make its way into Cattaraugus County as well. You can see that box of the tornado warning for that. And a wider shot here as we have to continue to check as we have these warnings popping across our area. We still have a tornado warning as well for that corner of Potter County, still the tornado warning on this particular severe storm. So that continues for a little longer as it continues to move to the northeast till 3 p.m. And we're still seeing radar indicating some rotation out of this, capable of producing a tornado. This one's moving a little more quickly to the northeast at 40 miles per hour. So Dan, we definitely continue to have an active afternoon with severe weather, and the watch, I mean, goes through early evening hours. And this is the time frame that we have been monitoring since yesterday.
This is the prime time frame, though, where we do have the most energy in the atmosphere. And again, we continue to track these severe storms and, of course, the numerous tornado warnings that are still ongoing across portions of the state. So again, as we look at western New York, now Buffalo, there's a couple of isolated showers. There's a little isolated shower moving through North Buffalo. We do have a couple of little cells here just north of Sturgeon Point, just offshore from Athol Springs. This activity, don't be surprised, even in around Buffalo, we're going to be dodging a little bit more rain here as we go through the next little bit. But of course, all the main attention has been off to the southwest. Here is that cell. This is Potter County. This is where we still have a tornado warning in place. This storm, again, racing off to the north and east. And notice these are very small cells, but that's the nature of today's atmosphere. It's a typical and classic tropical nature. We saw a lot of this kind of activity yesterday down into areas of Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana. Well, it's that same atmospheric dynamic that has moved overhead here in New York. And that's why, again, we're tracking these tornado warned cells where they are able to spin up these potential small tornadoes, as we've already seen official tornado with that one particular cell that made its way to areas around Forestville, Eden, and then pushing further to the north and east. Again, a lot of that initial activity, again, continues to race to the east. Here's that one cell that we were tracking in Allegheny County. That continues to push through Stuben County. There's more, though, tornado warnings. Luckily, again, all of that activity will continue to push into the Finger Lakes, but it's this activity which continues to fire up. And even here, whether it's in around Gowanda, look at how these cells are really beginning to blossom. And of course, I was actually talking about this with my wife and son earlier. They were mentioning the rain out of these storm cells. It's the kind of rain that we don't see all too often. It really comes down in buckets. It comes down hard and fast. So that's the other issue. It's not just the potential wind damage, the potential tornado. These storms, boy, are producing a lot of rain very quickly. And of course, we've already been tracking quite a bit of tropical rain throughout the day. But again, this is that new tornado warned cell that made its way out of Pennsylvania, now pushing right towards Jamestown. We've been mentioning Jamestown. Definitely take shelter, take this storm seriously, and it would be right here in this particular part of the storm cell. It would be right here if it were to have a tornado. And again, it is lifting off to the northeast at about 35 miles per hour. So again, that puts it in and around Jamestown here over the next 15 to 20 minutes, putting a tracker on there. Some of the other communities, you can see whether it's Bellevue, Redbird. Again, all this continues to race off to the north here at a pretty decent little clip. And as we widen back out, notice again, we still have kind of, you can tell how conducive, how ripe the atmosphere is for explosive development, because even here, so this line blew on through, but now we're even getting these smaller cells that are kind of redeveloping behind it. So again, the atmosphere is still very much ripe for active and very quick development. And it's all thanks, there it is right there, that big spin in the atmosphere. This is what's left of Beryl. That's the energy that's helping to produce this very active Wednesday afternoon. That's why we had a weather impact alert put in place for you yesterday, getting you prepared for this active afternoon and these scattered severe thunderstorms and tornado warned cells here on this Wednesday afternoon. Now, as we get into this evening, here is Future Look. Again, doing a great job of picking up this activity, but notice here we are by 5:30. Things do quiet down. We do have a couple of still scattered showers. We're not going to get rid of the rain completely into this evening, but any heavier weather, I think once we get, say, towards 5:30, 6 o'clock, and especially after that, any heavier weather will certainly begin to push off to our east. And then, of course, much quieter as we head into your Thursday. There might be a couple leftover showers early tomorrow, but generally we're looking pretty good. In fact, skies will partially clear out into the afternoon, and we'll continue to find that clearing as we head into your Friday. Friday is going to be a beautiful end to the week. So again, today, active weather, of course, the kind of weather you need to take seriously, especially if you're in the path of any of these particular storms. And as of right now, it's this one as we kind of dive in even more so into areas of Chautauqua County. This is the one that does still have a tornado warning with it. So something we'll continue to track as that cell does continue to lift to the north and northeast, including areas in and around Jamestown. Now, the last update, Jen, kind of a good sign here, but of course, this is what happens with these cells. They strengthen, sometimes they weaken a little bit, but then they re-strengthen. So something we'll keep an eye out here, Jen, but I have noticed here in the last frame or two, it's not quite looking as impressive, say, as we were seeing just a little bit ago, but that may just be a brief, radar,
right,
sweep going around. So we'll see what happens here over the next couple of minutes. If that trend does continue, hopefully it does. But of course, something we'll continue to track here.
But that's some good news, though, because earlier when we were watching those storms coming through, I mean, they were just tapping into that ripe air mass of instability. So they were just continuing to blossom and strengthen. So we're going to continue to watch this one, though, closely, because it's still moving into an environment where it could support tornadic activity like we've been seeing with some of these thunderstorms already, tracking the one that moved across northern Chautauqua County through central Erie and into Genesee. That has now shifted out, but it still has tornado warnings on it. Now across the Finger Lakes, you can see that's where you have the most instability, but we still have plenty of it across the southern tier, even the southeastern section of Erie County into Wyoming County. So that's where we're continuing to closely monitor, especially these thunderstorms that are developing and moving through, because it doesn't take much for them to start getting some of that rotation and producing a potential tornado. Damaging winds at the least with any of these severe storms moving through. Torrential downpours too, as Dan also reminded. So we could even still be dealing with some isolated flood issues. But right now, wind damage has been the main headline, and tornado warnings continuing for several counties across our area for the last several hours. A very active weather day, and we continue to have this tornado warning for portions of Chautauqua County and also into Cattaraugus County. So we will put a tracker on this one as we will zoom in. That tornado warning continuing until 3:15 p.m. That's for the southwestern portion of Cattaraugus, southeastern Chautauqua. Now this severe storm, radar indicated rotation. We haven't had any reports of ground touchdown or funnel clouds like we've seen with the other tornado warned storms that we saw further north across northern Chautauqua and into Erie County that have since moved through. This one, radar indicated rotation, but we're watching it closely for it to potentially drop something, for it to potentially have a touchdown. So this warning continues for portions of Chautauqua County into Cattaraugus as well. So zooming in, these are the communities getting the most impacted by this storm right now. It is moving through, moving through Bust-I, and also it's heading near Jamestown, Lakewood as well, along the 394. And you can see that continues to shift to the northeast as we put a tracker on this. A lot of these storms moving between 35 to 40 miles per hour. So they're cruising a bit, continues to move northeast. Ellicott, Jamestown could be impacted by this. Falconer, Kimball Stand, and Poland, Waterboro, Geary all have a chance of seeing this storm passing through, as we still have, this storm has a tornado warning on it continuing until 3:15 p.m. Radar indicating some rotation. So we're continuing to watch for updates. If we get any ground reports, we've had several of these severe storms capable of producing damaging winds, have had many reports, trees down, even damage to property, some buildings, some structures.
Yep.
So heed the warning, seek shelter now if you're seeing that you're in the path of the storm. And as we zoom out here, because we continue to take a look at our area, we also still continue to have a warning in Potter County in northern Pennsylvania, although that one seems to be, Dan, falling apart and will be exiting the county momentarily. But that one does go a little longer. I will bring that up, and you can see that tornado warning continuing for the northeastern corner until 3 p.m. In Potter County. So that's something we're still keeping an eye on. Areas further to the north. Dan, I've been watching this one too. This thunderstorm just southeast of Batavia through Pavilion and Leroy. It seems to be getting its act together a little, but again, as we've been mentioning, as these move further closer to Batavia and Buffalo, they just don't have the atmosphere that's favorable for keeping these, at least these severe storms or these supercell thunderstorms rolling along. They are falling apart a little bit.
The redevelopment, though, I mean, so that's, some of the areas that were hit with that initial round, and the redevelopment that we're also seeing.
Impressive.
It's impressive. It goes to show you the atmosphere. And of course, these storms have had a history of producing. Here's some new damage reports. These are out of that cluster I was showing you just north and west of Clarksburg. I got East Eden there at about 12:45. A tree on a house in and around Langford. Trees, wires down right around the same time. So again, you must take these storms seriously because they may not look all that impressive as far as overall size, but they have that potential to produce, at the very least, damaging straight line winds, if not that potential spin up of a tornado. And I was just mentioning downtown Buffalo, we were dry for the time being. We have a nice little shower there getting ready to move into downtown. We're also going to take a live, these are live images coming from Eden, and you can see structural damage right now. Looks like we got some insulation that was pulled out of what seems to be a metal roof here. Again, so structural damage here in Eden. As we've been showing you, these are some of the same images where we were tracking and showing you a lot of tree damage, a lot of limbs coming down. But here's an actual structure, and boy, you could even see there on the right-hand side of your screen, you could see potentially a part of the roof that has been completely blown off there and now sitting on the ground. There we go. As we kind of zoom in, you can see that is certainly part of the roof. There's some of the metal shingles right there. That is some of the debris that has certainly been ripped off the roof and then deposited in the yard right next to the house. So again, these storms certainly have had a history of producing damage. Here it is. We've been giving you the actual spotter reports, but these are live images right now coming from Eden. So again, this is the kind of weather that you must take seriously. And then here we are, downtown Buffalo. I was just mentioning getting into another tropical downpour. And boy, the rain is coming down quite heavily now, including in and around downtown Buffalo. You can see the rain flying in front of the screen there, but here we are again, another tropical downpour, and here's live radar showing you that cell, again, moving direct overhead. This is not, now, luckily this is not a severe warned cell, but certainly a tropical downpour that's moving into downtown Buffalo. But as we continue to track, and we were just showing it with Jem, this storm cell that does have a tornado warning with it. However, as we look at the radar itself, it certainly doesn't look all that impressive. I wouldn't be surprised if we'll also see this particular warning. I know it runs through 3 o'clock. Wouldn't be surprised if we actually see it get discontinued here over the next little bit. Not only are these storms not looking as impressive, but they're also getting ready to move out of our viewing area, more into areas of central New York and more towards central Pennsylvania. But we still have this guy right here. This is another tornado warning. I know, another tornado warning. And this is that cell that we've been coming at you with live here for the last little bit, where we had a tornado warning. Here's another, looks like a severe thunderstorm warning that is just popping up. You can see that flashing there. That means we have a warning that is getting updated right at the moment as we continue to bring you wall-to-wall coverage here. And as I was mentioning, Jamestown, certainly the weather has deteriorated here just within the last couple of minutes. And this is the cell that has produced that at least radar signature of that mesocyclone, and why we do have that tornado warning with it. This is the cell, again, that is now drifting over Jamestown, and you can see it again moving over Jamestown right now and eventually up towards Gary and Ellington as we get towards 3 o'clock, and then shortly thereafter. Hopefully that cell also shows some weakening, but Jen, I would have to imagine it's this cell right here, right there, that's getting ready to move in and around Clymer. We got, I believe, Peak and Peak Resort right there. That is the cell that's going to be tracking north and east that I believe has prompted that new severe thunderstorm warning that is in place there for Chautauqua County. And of course, we still have the tornado warning cell there. Much like we have seen, though, that particular cell has shown some signs of weakening. I want to take a look outside again. Here we are taking a look at, I believe, Chautauqua Lake, where we're showing you some of the rain that has certainly moved in. And as you can see, the image now starting to get a little fuzzy just because of the overall active weather that is now rolling overhead. You can kind of see the pixelated nature of it there, but here's a good clear image of it. And it wasn't that long ago we could see across the lake. Of course, now we can't even see across the lake because the rain is coming down so heavily, and we'll continue. And there it is, buffering right there, because again, when you have a storm sitting right on top of you, you can imagine it's hard to get that signal through. And here we are coming at you with live wall-to-wall coverage, and there's that storm right now hitting areas in and around Jamestown and Chautauqua Lake. There it is. So we have that severe thunderstorm warning, and we still have this tornado warning in place for this particular cell. But again, Jen, you can kind of see here just within the last few frames, again, it is sitting right over Jamestown. Still take this storm seriously, but as we're coming at you with live coverage here, we can kind of get an idea of what's happening. And this cell certainly not looking quite as impressive as what we were seeing just a little bit ago.
Right, and then it could re-strengthen, as we've seen with some of these storms as they continue to move across more favorable air mass for supporting these severe storms and capable of producing a tornado. So we're definitely keeping an close eye on all of these storms that are developing and continue to move through. And yes, you mentioned that severe thunderstorm warning that has been issued now for a portion of Chautauqua County. We're continuing to track that. That severe thunderstorm warning goes until 3:45 p.m. You can see it highlighted in orange right next to the tornado warning for Chautauqua County. Active weather right now in Chautauqua County, but these storms, including that one that now has the new warning on it, capable of producing damaging winds 60 miles per hour. We've gotten plenty of reports of storm damage from these storms moving through. So heed the warning. We're getting these high winds, knocking over trees, causing damage to structures. We even saw a report and video of a portion of a roof blown off. Was it a shed, Dan?
That was a house.
A house, wow.
That was a house.
So we've seen shed and house across portions of the southern tier and even into portions of southern Erie County. So right now, here are the active weather alerts. You can see currently we saw the tornado warning in portions of Potter County. And we also have the tornado warning continuing for Cattaraugus and also Chautauqua counties. And then that new severe thunderstorm warning for this severe storm just moving into that southwestern corner of Chautauqua County. So that's continuing to move to the northeast. 35 miles per hour. That's the general speed of these storms right now, 35 to 40 miles per hour. Damaging winds associated with this. The severe storm is located near Wattsburg, and it's continuing to move northeast, so it's going to be impacting communities such as Clymer and also Sherman, French Creek, North Clymer. Right now it's moving into Marvin. So it is entering Chautauqua County. That's the way that warning was put on this for Chautauqua County. So we could see damage to roofs, siding, trees knocked over. And we also are watching for potentially strengthening for this storm. And we'll have to watch for maybe tornado warnings issued on any of these storms that are moving through. And we do continue to have that tornado warning, as you can see, that storm moving across Jamestown. And it does extend the northern extent of it through Geary. So as we zoom in here, the tornado warning continues, that red box there for the southeastern corner of Chautauqua, heading into Cattaraugus as well. And I'll bring that up for you so you can see that tornado warning goes until 3:15 p.m. there as it continues to make its way to the northeast. So some of these communities being impacted as we zoom in, Ellery and also right over Jamestown. It is falling apart a little bit as Dan and I have been tracking it. Along the 86, though, still could be dealing with torrential downpours, damaging winds into Ellery along the 86 and Geary, and as it heads off to the northeast. So putting a tracker on, you could see sometimes those the warning boxes need to be adjusted. So this one will be updated, but I will put a real-time tracker on you for this storm as it continues, this tornado warned storm moving to the northeast. Stockton, Poland, heads up, it's coming your way potentially. Ellington, Cherry Creek, and also for Leon, Axville, and this is a potentially dangerous storm like we've been seeing with this active weather pattern today.
Stockton's one of those areas that also, with that initial storm, Stockton's one of those areas, so you might be getting hit with a second pretty nasty storm. Of course, they were already dealing with that initial tornado warm storm just a bit ago. But boy, the atmosphere is still very ripe, and this redevelopment, Jen, I mean, the redevelopment that we're seeing here with some of these new isolated showers and thundery downpours that are developing, this is impressive. This is the kind of weather setup, again, we do not see here in Western New York all too often.
Not this many warnings in just a matter of hours.
Yep.
And we have that tornado watch for all of Erie County and into northern Pennsylvania. Although the bulk of the favorable conditions for severe weather looks to be kind of along a line south of Buffalo and extending south of Batavia. So that's when we're seeing these storms as they migrate northward. They are falling apart a bit as they move out of that more favorable environment. Yeah,
especially the 90 corridor there from Buffalo to Rochester, you know, southward. That's certainly where the atmosphere is still very ripe. And of course, you can kind of see here behind me, this is also where we're still tracking numerous, not every cell we're seeing here has a severe thunderstorm warning or tornado warning with it, but we are still dealing with some of these isolated tropical downpours. We just had one move right over downtown Buffalo, and boy, the rain was coming down in buckets. No thunder or lightning, but boy, the rain still coming down in buckets. And you could, as we zoom in, just look at the colors that are showing up here. Areas in and around Amherst, stretching southward. Again, also areas in and around South Buffalo, pushing towards West Seneca, down towards Lackawanna. I mean, we got some serious tropical downpours making their way through the Buffalo metro at the moment. But of course, we also still have this activity. This is that tornado warned cell. We zoomed right down into Potter County in northern Pennsylvania. That cell has since exited. So definitely some good news there, but still a nasty storm that continues to track across northern portions of Pennsylvania. Those storms will continue to race to the east. But again, we've seen a bit of redevelopment here. You can see just north and west of Wellsville, also dealing with some tropical downpours there. And of course, we continue to track this activity that is now moving into areas of Chautauqua County. We do still have a tornado warning in place. That was for this particular cell right here. You can see it doesn't look all that impressive, but boy, it made its way through Jamestown here over the last 15 minutes. Certainly had some very heavy rain with it. And of course, we also, and again, just like that, I was just mentioning how that storm is showing signs of weakening. Well, I don't see that tornado warned box anymore, so more than likely that tornado warning has since diminished. I'm sure Jen will kind of confirm that for me here momentarily, but we also have this cell, again, that just made its way across the New York State-Pennsylvania line, right over French Creek. And again, we got Peak and Peak Resort right here. This is the cell, no tornado warning with it, but a severe thunderstorm with it, where I think the biggest concern out of this cell is going to be the torrential rain, but also the potential for some damaging straight line winds winds. That storm is also racing to the north and east through portions of northwestern Chautauqua County. There's Cassadaga and around Lilydale, also dealing with another pretty good little tropical downpour there as well. So we still have this severe thunderstorm warning in place. But Jen, here's some good news for once. After what has been a very active afternoon for more than 3 hours now, we've been coming at you with wall-to-wall coverage. But Jen, at least at the moment,
yes,
we do not have, I know there's technically still that tornado warning into Potter County, but the cell has actually moved out of Potter County at this moment. So I think at least at the moment, there are no tornado warned cells here in our viewing area.
Right. So the one for Chautauqua County and Cattaraugus County was canceled. The tornado threat for that particular, severe storm is no longer there. So still could get some damaging winds out of it. That's why we still have that severe thunderstorm warning continuing for Chautauqua County for 2 cells, actually, severe storms moving through there. So still some active weather, but at least tornado warnings for western New York have either expired or have been canceled. We still have northern Pennsylvania. Still that Potter County one in the northeastern section, but that doesn't have much longer on it. So we are continuing Chautauqua County as well, where we have those 2 severe storms continuing to move through that southwestern corner, as you can see here, zooming in. That's where we have some potentially damaging winds of 60 miles per hour moving through French Creek. They do have a history, these severe storms, of producing damaging winds, knocking over trees, causing property damage as well. So that's the one storm there that we are watching, continuing to move northeast. So the communities being impacted by this particular storm: Morgan Corners, Mina, Slab City, Sherman, and Summerdale. And then as we head further into the county we go, of course, we saw that tornado watch for all of western New York and northern Pennsylvania till 9 p.m. But I wanted to show you also we're watching this storm that now doesn't have the tornado warning on it any longer. That's just north of Jamestown, Charlotte, having some heavy rain, some damaging winds, severe thunderstorm warning still on this one. So we're going to continue to monitor conditions. It looks like these are falling apart a little, but we're still going to look for potential redevelopment. But as of now, just looks like some damaging winds out of this and some torrential downpours that's moving through Centralia and Stockton along the 60 and heading towards Charlotte. So zooming out here, because it's kind of a batch of some heavy rain and thunderstorms right now producing damaging winds. So I want to put this tracker on it, and as it continues to move to the northeast, this is the direction, these are the communities that we're going to see it coming through there. So plan for some damaging winds, very heavy rain through Ellington, also Cherry Creek, Canoanga, Leon, Wango, and Cottage, and that continues to shift northeast. And I wanted to also check on Potter County, northern PA, as we're continuing to see that tornado warning there, but it has exited the county, so it's probably going to be dropped very soon here. Although look at this one, Dan.
Over there.
That
Look
one
at
has we're thinking on the same track here. Has a severe thunderstorm warning on it right now for just south of Potter County, but Abbott getting some heavy rain, and that severe storm that's just south of there, we're going to be continuing to watch that as it looks like it's extending into that southeastern corner.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's communities there. Heads up on that. Could be getting some gusty winds and some very heavy rain through there, if not a severe thunderstorm. We will continue to bring updates on this, though. But look at that heavy rain through Stewartson, and it's actually it's Foreman. That storm looks like it's strengthening.
Structure. It's got the structure there that we've been seeing out of these cells, especially the ones that have had tornado warnings with it. You can almost see that little hook echo right there, just south of Stewartson, and that's kind of. As a meteorologist, that's what we look for. We look for that structure in a storm cell, at least on radar. That kind of gives us an idea.
Maybe a little rotation
of what the storm is doing.
Right.
Exactly.
Aloft.
And there it is. There it is. So at least, so that's something certainly we'll be tracking here. But boy, these storms have certainly produced a number here across portions of western New York. Going back to some of the damage reports, again, we've been coming at you with wall-to-wall coverage. If you're just tuning in, it has been an extremely active afternoon with numerous tornado warnings. In fact, you can see here those tornado warnings shifting to the east into areas of the Genesee Valley and now more focused towards areas of the Finger Lakes. Of course, it was here in and around Ripley at about 11:42. That's when we had the first storm, the first tornado warning cell make its way into western New York. And even at that time, at 11:42, a tree down on Klondike Road near Ripley reported from the county sheriff. Of course, that cell then tracked further to the north and east, making its way through Forestville. We showed you some drone footage from earlier ago. Certainly damage there. And again, train spotter reported tree damage on Center Road there in Forestville. And then here we are diving in. We also showed you some images in and around Eden. And here we go. Eden at 12:45, a tree on a house. Langford, trees and wires down. A little cluster there of active weather. And of course, that storm did continue to race off to the north and east. And we're going to have, I believe, numerous spotter reports and damage reports come in as we go through the coming hours. As far as in and around Buffalo, we did have a nice little downpour pass through just a little bit ago. That is now making its way into areas around Cheektowaga, stretching up towards Depew and up towards Williamsville and Clarence. Those showers will continue to track to the east. We have a little bit more activity here off to the west, so we'll keep an eye on that. And of course, we're still dealing with some fairly active weather, especially into southern Erie County and into areas of Chautauqua County. But zooming in, you can see that particular heavier downpour that did make its way over downtown Buffalo. Again, pretty much centered directly over the airport. That particular little downpour will continue to track, especially in areas of Williamsville, Clarence, and eventually further north and east. There's that technical still tornado warning for northeastern Potter County, but as you can see here on the radar, that cell is now long gone. So there you go, just like that, as we've been coming at you with live. They did just drop that warning. They kind of just let it go through 3 p.m., which was when it was going to get canceled anyways. But again, still into areas of Chautauqua County. This is where we are still dealing with some active weather. Jamestown, things are quieting down here for the moment, but we still have a few thunderstorms that, of course, we're going to be tracking. The cell that did have a tornado warning with it not that long ago, that made its way through Jamestown and continues to weaken and kind of fizzle here. Again, still dealing with some decent downpours, but certainly not the kind of structure that we saw just a little bit ago. And even here, Jen, this looks pretty good. This particular cell, not quite as impressive here with the level 2 radar data. Definitely not picking up those reds anymore, but still some very heavy rain and the potential for those damaging straight line winds, whether it's in and around Sherman, possibly even towards Panama and eventually up towards Mayville and areas along Chautauqua Lake. That's where this particular storm is heading. But we're also still dealing with some of those downpours in and around Cassadaga. And again, this is a lot of the same area here where we were dealing with some of that initial activity as we went into the first part of this afternoon. But as we widen back out, you can kind of see where a lot of the true focus, I mean, still, this storm is still producing a lot of active weather. It's just that it is beginning to move out of our viewing area towards Rochester into areas of the Finger Lakes. But look at this. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 to 5 tornado warnings along this broken line now racing across the state. We do not see that all too often here in New York. So again, it goes to show you how rare this afternoon has actually been, and it's all thanks to a tropical system. What is left of Beryl as we continue to widen out. You can see that big spin in the atmosphere right here. The actual center of Beryl is now just west of Cleveland. That's the center of the low, but it's out ahead of it. This is where all the big time forcing has been, where the atmosphere has just been so ripe for this kind of development. And you can kind of see where most of this activity is heading. So while we are still tracking some of these showers, even still that severe thunderstorm warning there in Chautauqua County, and you can see as well here on Future Look as we get further into this late afternoon, into this evening. Here we are at 5:30. Notice while we have a couple of scattered showers, we don't have those bright colors showing up. So I know that tornado watch extends through this evening. I wouldn't be surprised if it actually gets diminished or dropped from west to east. That's kind of a typical pattern there where you'll actually see that watch get dropped as those more favorable conditions also track to our east as we go through the coming hours. But again, for the time being, we are still, of course, dealing with some severe weather, and we still have this severe thunderstorm warning in place for much of Chautauqua County. But again, Jen, This is some good signs here. A lot of this activity, even these storms, are not quite looking as robust as what we were just seeing just a little bit ago. And that goes to show it with a lot of what we've seen in the models, that as we do get further into this afternoon, things settle down.
And even just the storms that have moved through, the rain has kind of stabilized things slightly. So just enough potentially to at least just have maybe some isolated severe storms rather than kind of that outbreak we just had for the last 3 hours.
We'll see what happens with the trend of some of these cells here. If they pulse, which what that means, where they weaken like they're doing now, but then re-strengthening. Exactly. Or if they just continue to weaken, which I think that's what we're all kind of hoping for at this point.
So at least we're going to be continuing to keep a close eye on any of these that do continue to develop, and it just depends on what's the strength of them, and we'll continue to bring you updates, of course. But we still have that tornado watch for our area till 9 p.m. this evening for Western New York and Northern Pennsylvania. So we're going to continue to monitor conditions closely. Right now we have that severe thunderstorm warning continuing for Chautauqua County, but all the tornado warnings, at least locally, have either been canceled or allowed to expire. We have that more favorable air mass, even better conditions just off to the east. And those storms that tracked through here are now have a lot of warnings, tornado warnings on those as they track eastward, more favorable air mass of instability for these severe storms. Although we still have some chance locally of still seeing some of these isolated severe storms, which we are still seeing across Chautauqua County. And we will keep a close eye, of course, to see if they are capable of producing tornadoes once again, as we did already see with several of these cells that moved through, especially that one that we were tracking for hours that moved through Chautauqua County and into Erie and Genesee, and then has now exited our area. As we zoom in here, I wanted to show you right now, as Dan mentioned, they are falling apart to these areas of thunderstorms. They are weakening some, but still they have enough oomph to them where they have damaging winds potentially of 60 miles per hour as they move off to the northeast. So right now, zooming in, and I'm going to switch to, there's just a severe thunderstorm warning continuing until 3:45 p.m. for Chautauqua County for those two areas of thunderstorms that I'll show you in just a moment here. But radar switching to that closer shot, that's a higher reflectivity and updates every minute. So it's preferred. As we zoom in here, we have some of the heavy rainfall and that severe storm right now moving through Sherman and also Mina along the 86 there, and that continues to move to the northeast. We also have this severe storm continue to move through Arkwright, Griswold, and into Charlotte, Villanova, and that continues to move northeast too. So just want to put a tracker on both of these. We'll start this with this one in the northeastern corner of Chautauqua County, so you can see the communities being impacted. We also have a area of heavy rain though right near Hanover and just southeast of there too. But here we go. We'll put a tracker impacting communities as this continues to move to the northeast. South Dayton, Hanover, Dayton, Gowanda, and also Collins. And then as we look to the southern portion of our county here in Chautauqua County, there's Sherman right now that has that severe thunderstorm warning on it, and that continues to move off to the northeast. So putting a tracker on this as it continues to shift in that direction. Sherman, Lombard, Stebbins Corner could be impacted by the storm, and also across Chautauqua Lake, Dean. These are all areas that need to keep a close eye. But at least, Dan, though, it looks like we aren't seeing strengthening with the storm at the moment.
That's good that we're not seeing strengthening. We're not seeing that structure that we were just talking about that, like that particular cell there in northern Pennsylvania. We're no longer seeing those kind of structures out of the cells that are still moving across portions here of western New York. I mentioned that downpour that made its way through downtown Buffalo. That's currently making its way through portions in and around Clarence, dealing with that tropical downpour. Buffalo might not be done completely with the rain. We have a few more showers here making their way in and around Crystal Beach. That's some of the showers that we may have to dodge here over the next hour or so. Again, a lot of the heavier weather will continue to shift further to the south and east. Warsaw, you're dealing with another pretty good tropical downpour. Of course, definitely some heavier weather just south of Warsaw. That's going to be making its way towards Perry, Silver Lake. across portions of eastern Wyoming County as we go through the next little bit. But again, diving right into downtown Buffalo, all quiet for the time being. There's that heavier shower that just passed on through, but we are still tracking a little bit of rain just off to our west. And of course, we have been tracking several tornado warned cells here down towards the New York State Pennsylvania line. At the moment, all is clear as those cells continue to, again, race further on off to the east. But we still have a little bit of a nasty little thundery downpour across portions of northern Allegheny County there, especially just north and west of Wellsville. So even in around Wellsville, more than likely not quite done with the rain yet. But of course, as Jen was showing you, this is where we still have a severe thunderstorm warning in place. This is into areas of Chautauqua County, and it's this particular activity here, again, showing signs of weakening, which is great news, but we still have this severe thunderstorm warning in place. And there's the update right there as that storm is now pretty much beginning to exit in and around Sherman. But Panama, again, conditions begin to deteriorate there with this particular little thundery downpour that's now pushing overhead there. So Jamestown, you had that one cell push in just a little bit ago. That has shown considerable signs of weakening as it is now making its way through northern portions of Chautauqua County. But we'll have to keep an eye on this guy right here as we still have more than likely some more rain as we go through the next little bit. So again, we are still tracking these showers, but they are showing signs of weakening. In the meantime, we're actually going to send things out to Dave McKinley, who is live and showing us some of the damage we have seen. Dave?
We are in Arkwright along Straight Road. It's a dirt road. It was the scene of what was to be reported the first of the tornadoes, the touchdown this morning. It took us some time to get here. Take a look at why. The road itself, we are behind a home right now, but the road itself was completely blocked off for several hours as they tried to get numerous trees unblocked. This here you can see in Franco, our photographer, beyond over here, the barn with the roof missing, and up in this tree a bit, you can see where part of that roof is hanging in the tree right now. And then off to the right here, you can see the continued amount of damage as we sweep to the right. Now, one of the busiest people in these parts is with Kravitz Tree Service. Your name, sir?
My name is John Pennell with Kravitz Tree Service.
Okay, John, tell me what it's been like for you today.
Well, the phone's been ringing off the hook, if you can imagine. This is kind of like ground zero of the tornadoes, reported tornadoes. We work with the municipalities in Chautauqua County, and we're out here offering our assistance if it's needed. And we will work with the homeowners and the insurance companies.
Yeah.
And so we just want to give back, and we're out here doing that. So.
Well, it seems like there's plenty of work to do around here. Straight Road was completely blocked off.
Yeah, this is devastating for this particular homeowner. I feel real bad for her. They just moved out here from Dunkirk, try to get some peace and quiet, if you will, and this is just Mother Nature happening.
Yeah. Did you see the tornadoes or anything, or just the phone started ringing?
The phone started ringing. I did not personally see the tornadoes, but we do have crews out working right now as we speak.
They've seen a lot of this around the county.
There is in this portion of Chautauqua County. That is correct.
All right, we'll take another look then. Thank you very much, Mr. Kravitz, as we give you another view here of just the devastation we've seen. And of course, coming up on the news at 4, 5, and 6, you're going to hear stories from folks. We talked to a lady whose horses were in the barn when the barn was lifted on the ground and toppled by the suspected tornado. There are plenty of wires down still. There are lots of homes and barns that need new roofs at this time, and we'll bring you a very interesting story later on tonight about a fortuitous incident on Route 39. Fortuitous because of not only who was on the fire department, but their day job as well. We're going to explain all those. But yeah, they've got a lot of trees down here and a lot of devastation. This, again, we are in Arkwright Straight Road. It was the site of the first suspected tornado that was reported this morning. We'll send it back inside to you guys.
Thank you, Dave. Well, I was looking at, Jen, some of the damage there, and you can see the tree. You can see some of the debris in the tree, and you can see some of those branches that are going different directions, as we were mentioning.
Tornadic wind damage, potentially.
All right, and so again, that's certainly one of the things that when the NWS, and I imagine they're going to have a busy evening, and then especially into the day tomorrow, where they're going to be going out to these spots, tracking that to confirm whether or not it was straight line winds or potentially a tornado. So again, that's something to be seen. And of course, we've had lots of damage reports. Some more damage reports that have come in have been in and around Eden as well. And of course, so now we have some live reports coming from Eden as well, showing us some of the damage that we've also tracked. And it's so here is Maddie and showing you some of the damage there in Eden.
Yeah, hey guys, I'm here in Eden, and County Executive Mark Poloncarz has just announced that the town of Eden is currently under a state of emergency. Now I'm going to get out of your way. I'm here on Sauer Road right now, and as you can see, our damage is pretty extensive. We've got some trees snapped in half, and they are all over the roads. They've been working with their chainsaws to try and get them off of the roads. And then we also have seen a lot of home damage. So this is just one of the homes that has had trees fall onto it, and there's debris everywhere. Residents are kind of trying to pick up those pieces. One resident I spoke to said that when he saw what he believed to have been a tornado come through, he had just pulled into his driveway and there were logs spinning above his head, and so he yelled for his wife and for him to just take shelter in the garage. Everybody thankfully is okay at this point, but as you can see, our damage here in Eden is pretty extensive, and like I just said, Erie County Executive Mark Poloncarz has announced that the town of Eden is currently under a state of emergency. For now, I'm going to send it right back to you guys in the studio, live and on your side in Eden. I'm Natalie Foss, Channel 2 News.
Thank you, Maddie. Yeah, that is some insane footage coming there from Eden. I know when I was tracking that storm earlier, it had what we call a debris signature with it. So again, that right there kind of confirms that. A lot of damage, whether it's tree damage or also, of course, structural damage we have seen. And it's not just Eden. Here's Ripley again, tree down on Klondike Road. This was the first report that came in. We've been coming at you with wall-to-wall coverage now for well more than 3 hours. And again, this is a tree down on Klondike Road in Ripley. That storm, Forestville. So we have train damage report in and around, again, on Center Street there in Forestville, and then obviously in and around Boston, which, of course, is in and around Eden. Look at all these damage reports. Of course, that's where we were just showing you some of the live footage. And again, tree on house. There it is. There's the official report right there. Trees and wires down in and around Langford. So again, a lot of spots here across Western New York where we have seen damage, and then we're going to send it out to another spot with live coverage. Some coverage showing it here. Jen,
wow, that is impressive. So we actually had a picture earlier of a wall cloud, and that definitely, you can see that definition of that, of that severe storm with that complex setup where you have that wall cloud, even looked like you had a funnel. Couldn't see obviously the ground to see if it was touching down in that video, but we've had many reports, confirmed reports even from weather spotters, National Weather Service, confirming tornado touchdowns in several locations across portions of Chautauqua County, also into Erie County, southern Erie County. We had reports Silver Creek into Eden, and as you're seeing some of that video, and also the storm damage confirming some of those reports. So National Weather Service folks headed out to assess the damage in several spots across Chautauqua, Erie County from the last several hours. And there's that video again coming in from Collins. We actually had a report from North Collins of a tornado touchdown from weather spotters reported by the National Weather Service. And so, and that video certainly looks like that is confirmed.
Yeah, that was obviously a bit ago. That was not live footage or anything like that. That was video that was sent to us, and yeah, you can see the structure there, not just the cone, if you will, but even in the upper levels of the atmosphere there, you could see the whole, what again we call the mesocyclone, the whole part of the storm that is actually rotating, and then within that, that's where you get that tornado to potentially drop. But I do want to get to this, Jen. I want to get to some more live radar here because we are still dealing really not no longer dealing with much in the way of severe warnings anymore, but we still have some passing showers, even a couple of tropical downpours that are making their way through. Of course, in and around downtown Buffalo, we had one of those. That particular batch of heavier rain has since pushed off to the north and east. It made its way through Amherst, Pendleton, now making its way up towards Lockport, Royalton. Definitely dealing with some heavy rain, but again, no severe warnings out of that. We're also dealing, Angelica, just north of there, we also have one more cell that is making its way through northern Allegheny County. And then we have these little guys right here, these little tropical downpours. But Jen, just like that, at least at the moment, and we were saying it just a little bit ago, we no longer had any more tornado warnings. Finally, after several hours, and at least at the moment, Jen, we no longer have any more severe thunderstorm warnings.
I think the worst of it might be over.
Yes.
We still might get an isolated pop-up severe storm.
We still have some of this activity, you know, again, these isolated downpours that are still kind of rolling across, but I think they're going to continue to get more isolated, more widely scattered here as we go through the coming hours.
Right, and we still have that watch, but it goes till 9 p.m. Tornado watch for Western New York and Northern Pennsylvania. But
I see a potential update. I see a potential update behind you.
And it might even, they might have allowed it to expire sooner than that, depending on the setup. But yeah, those storms are happening now across central portion of our state for the Finger Lakes. And locally, we're seeing the air mass being a little more stabilized from the widespread severe weather outbreak we've had for the last several hours. Good news is we only have a watch in effect for our area. No warnings at the moment. Even that severe thunderstorm warning for Chautauqua County was allowed to expire as we were seeing those thunderstorms continuing to weaken and fall apart some. So we're still seeing some heavy rain across there. Also, Dan and I have been tracking Potter County in northern
that one
PA.
Cell,
It was starting to re-strengthen a little bit. Now it has weakened some and is exiting southern Potter County.
That obviously is, yes.
Good news, too.
Because it was showing some good signs. It had some nice structure to it.
Yeah, it was starting to strengthen some. And yeah, exactly, seeing some more definition with that structure. So that's some good news, too. That is exiting our area. So really what we're watching now is just for these kind of pop-up, isolated, potentially strong to severe storms. But I think the worst of it may be over, even though we still want to remind we have this tornado watch as I zoom out here, highlighted in yellow here, for our area, at least into the early evening hours.
Yeah, the atmosphere, though, just not quite as ripe. You know, we've kind of pulled a lot of the energy out of the atmosphere after these rounds of showers and thunderstorms and tornado-warned cells that have been rolling on through. There's only so much energy in the atmosphere, and of course those cells did pull a lot out of it. But again, look at the redevelopment. We still have, of course, you step outside, it is still very humid. We still got a lot of moisture in the air, so we still have some of these showers and even some downpours that are now rolling on through. Not seeing much in the way of thunder and lightning at the moment, but certainly some heavier rain. You can see some of the heavier rain that we're currently seeing in and around Royalton, pushing through southern portions of Niagara County, if you're in Orleans County, in and around Shelby, the Route 31 corridor, and around Medina. You're not done with the rain quite yet. You still have some more rain to deal with. As we travel south, here we are into areas of Allegheny County. Again, still dealing with some pockets of some heavier rain here, but we also have quite a bit of dry weather here. And of course, nothing as severe or as impactful as what we had just a bit ago. And then even some of the cells that we have been tracking still packing a pretty good punch with, again, torrential rain, the chance for some thunder, some lightning, and potentially even some strong winds. But at least at the moment, none of these cells are at that severe level. As far as the overall atmospheric dynamics, you can kind of see where a lot of the heavier weather is now heading. It continues to push to the east into areas of the Finger Lakes and more into areas of central New York. But I do want to dive in because, again, we have been tracking some rain in and around Jamestown. And, of course, here we are with live images coming from Eden, where, of course, look at the damage there, Jen. I mean, extensive damage, the amount of tree damage there, the amount of leaves, the branches. I mean, that's extensive damage right there.
And when you look at it, it does have a bit of a tornadic definition in terms of the laying of the trees. A little, you
Yep.
see some trees going one way, some trees going the other, and not so much that straight line wind damage that you're looking at when you assess the damage, like National Weather Service folks
Yep.
are going to be doing probably this evening as the severe weather threat cleared. So it looks like unconfirmed tornado touchdowns in
Yep.
several locations in Chautauqua County and in Erie County.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the damage there. I mean, right here, you can see how the tree limbs were just snapped. But usually in those straight line winds, I mean, it is so uniform.
It's so clear.
Everything is in
Everything's
one direction.
in one direction, exactly.
And here
this looks a little more sporadic.
Yeah, you got tree limbs going left, you got some tree limbs going right. I think this is going to be an easy job as far as confirming the tornado. Now,
yeah.
the overall strength, that will be a little bit of a different, where they'll have to inspect a little bit more so. But again, here we are taking a look at the structure of the house. Of course, tree limbs and branches falling on that structure. A little bit ago, we were showing us some of the roof damage, some metal roofing that was pulled off of a home in and around Eden. So again, Eden definitely was one of the spots, especially, I think, just east of downtown, the village of Eden, if you will, into some of the hills there. Definitely, extensive damage, as we can see here with some of the live images coming out of there.
Right, and we've had images coming in and video from also North Collins, Arkwright, of similar images of these trees down and structures being damaged, parts of roofs coming off. So it's a good chance. We had some touchdowns with tornadoes over the last several hours, including portions of Chautauqua and Erie County. So when they go out and assess, that's when it'll determine if it was an EF1, an EF2 potentially.
I'm just happy at this point things are quieting down a bit.
It is. It's winding down overall. I mean, now it looks more just an isolated, not a widespread event any longer for the rest of the afternoon.
Again, I've covered some tornado warnings here in Western New York in my time, and I know you have as well, but there aren't
many of these.
Not many days like this where we've had as many warned storms push across Western New York. This really has been a rare event, something we just don't see all too often, but occasionally we do, as we have seen this afternoon. And again, we're not quite done with the overall active weather. We still have some showers, still some tropical downpours that are making their way through, but they are fairly isolated at this point. We don't have anything widespread. And if you were watching a bit ago, again, we've been coming at you with wall-to-wall coverage. Jen's been doing a great job right from the get-go before noon, covering these tornado-warned cells as they've been racing across Western New York, giving you the latest information on where those storms are headed. And again, we still have some wet weather to contend with, but no more severe thunderstorm warnings, no more tornado warnings at the moment. But as we do dive in, I mean, we are still dealing with some pretty decent little downpours here. We've been tracking some of this activity. This is some of the activity that did have a little bit of a history of producing some potential straight line damaging winds with a severe thunderstorm warning. Of course, this cell has since weakened, but just like that, again, just in the last couple of frames here, this particular cell, and there's the update right there, whether it's Portland in and around Brockton, and eventually making its way towards Fredonia and Dunkirk, this cell, we'll see if this guy tries to strengthen over the next 10 to 15 or so minutes as it continues to track up the 90. So again, something we'll continue to track here because this one also looks like it's trying to pulse a little bit, as we've been talking about, where they pulse and weaken. Sometimes they pulse and strengthen, and this might be one of those occasions. So we'll have to keep an eye on that particular cell as it continues to push off to the north and east. But the majority of the active weather, there it is. And again, so we had the severe thunderstorm warnings, the tornado warnings here in Western New York. Now look at all the active weather. There it is. Those storms are still chugging along, and they are now again pushing into areas of central New York. So when all said and done, for the state as a whole, Jen, this is going to be a fairly impressive outbreak because of those storms that are still, again, pushing off to the east, all thanks to this guy right here, Beryl, which will be passing overhead as we head into tonight and tomorrow.
And that's the thing. We had the remnants of that tropical system, Beryl, and so that added to that instability and that wind shear that made it favorable for the severe weather outbreak and those isolated unconfirmed tornadoes. But we had, the Weather Service will have the confirmation as they go out and assess the damage, but we've had unconfirmed reports of tornado touchdowns across Chautauqua and Erie County over the last
Yep.
several hours. But at least right now it is appearing to be winding down. We still have, going to note this, that tornado watch that continues until 9 p.m. this evening for our area. But I think the worst of it is over with at this point. But it doesn't
Yep.
mean we're still not going to see some of these heavy downpours, torrential downpours, and some gusty winds out of some of these storms that develop still, and maybe some damaging wind gusts still. But we do have that tornado watch continuing for our area, so that's something we're going to continue. Dan and I, for the next several hours, going to be keeping a close eye on.
We're not done yet.
Right, because as we've seen, a little bit of redevelopment with some of these storms as they kind of weaken some. But like you were saying, though, all of the storms that moved through kind of zapped out at least some of that energy that we had from earlier today.
Yeah, and I kind of want to briefly go over future look here because we'll show you as we do go into the evening, and it's doing a great job of even picking up the smaller cells that we have seen develop. You know, look how quickly all this activity races to even here within about 2 hours. We don't have a whole lot left. There's still a few showers, so we're not done with the rain completely. We're still going to have a few scattered showers. But I do think as far as overall severe weather potential, that's going to continue to get very limited as we go through the next couple of hours, Jen. So again, great job today bringing everybody the latest with those tornado warnings as if everything got started there just a little bit before noon.
Well, you too. Thanks for coming in a little early to help out, and to Dave and Natalie and Rob all helping out. And we're continuing to follow this. Dan and I are going to be still working hard this afternoon and into the evening hours as we continue to track conditions, of course. And of course, you can get the latest on air, online, and on our app as well. We will now return it to regular programming.